Where's the beef?
Hello everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I am your host Brandon, and today we figured we'd take it back to basics because we've had 6 weeks now of guests, and you know what, we just wanted to do an episode where it was just the three of us, just the original boys hanging out once again, and especially for our 20th episode, you know, it's a little bit of a milestone, because with our recording schedule, how it was before, when we recorded so few and far between, the fact that we're doing it this consistently is honestly kind of impressive to me, and I appreciate it. So we took it back to basics. It's just me, Zach, and Weaver today. Why don't you...
Don't lie, we just couldn't get anyone this week.
Hey, you know what? I specifically requested today that we not have a guest because I was fucking tired of having guests.
More importantly, are we ever going to get Troy back?
Dude,
or is he just lost to the ages?
I mean, if Troy would ever fix his fucking computer, then we would. But I mean, that's on him. I don't control.
Troy
that.
Actually, he's not with us anymore. He dropped his GameCube in the bath.
he went into Smash Bros to play his fucking Link.
He wanted to go into Fortnite in real life, so he hopped on the battle bus and forgot the parachute.
The great battle bus to the sky.
Great battle bus in the sky. But yeah, so we figured we'd just have it be us today, and we'd talk about some stuff that we like, because we're doing a top 10 again. That's the new thing. Every 10 episodes, you're getting a fucking top 10, and it's going to be a little longer of an episode, so strap in, baby. Hell yeah, that's what I'm saying. This week, we're going to talk about our top 10 favorite books, because we're all big fucking stinky dorks that like to read sometimes. And we actually haven't really talked about books or reading or anything on the podcast yet. So it's a little bit out of our wheelhouse. We're getting a little bit out of our comfort zone. But hey, you know what? It's going to be a good time. We're going to talk about some fucking books, man, and how we like to read them.
Yeah.
First
I'm
of all,
illiterate. I can't participate.
Shit! I was counting on you.
I'm a real big fan of Clifford. Like, I like the pictures. The dog's big.
Or you mean Blifford, the big red blood?
I'm a crisp. I can't.
Oh, you're a crisp?
I am crisp.
Are you wheat then?
I am the wheat crisp.
No, you're a chicken biscuit. You're a chicken and a biscuit.
I'm a Triscuit, you asshole.
Fuck it, yeah.
Chicken and a biscuit is the best biscuit, so fuck you.
Tobuscus should sue them. I swear to God.
It's literally a chicken noodle soup. It's chicken noodle soup in a biscuit. You fucking eat it.
Ew.
Wait, why didn't you tell me that when I was in the store the other day and sent a picture of it? That sounds delicious.
Why would I want
It's like a thick biscuit with like chicken bouillon seasoning, but like it's like chicken bouillon seasoning, but like a little extra.
Why would I want a solid version of a soup? That's stupid.
How about this? New topic for the week. If you had to have a solid version of a soup that you could just eat, what would yours be? The only right answer is French onion soup. What are your two answers?
Potato soup?
Not New England clam chowder.
Because you know
is that the red or the white kind?
What?
New England's white, Manhattan's red. I would have a solid of the Manhattan clam chowder. That's my favorite of the clam chowders.
I mean, you guys are way above my head on this one. I don't know I don't know shit about
Bitch,
chowder.
don't know what soup is?
No, I don't know shit about clam chowder, so I will respectfully withdraw.
What about a solid bar of lentil soup?
Well, Weaver, since, cereal is a type of soup, can I have, like, a Rice Krispie treat? Does that count?
That's already a thing. Shit! That's already a thing. You can buy cereal bars with the little glaze.
Damn,
little,
I didn't even...
pastry
well,
butter
then
on
the
the
dreams
bottom.
come true.
You already have that. We're talking about a thing that doesn't exist yet. Soup bars.
I don't want that. I don't want any of that.
It's like edible bouillon bars that you dip.
Frozen brick of soup. I'm going to see if I can buy one.
You can just eat the fucking bouillon squares and get the same experience.
Yeah, it's like a
I just prefer to... I just spoon chicken stock out of a container all day.
Hell yeah,
Put that right on my nose.
I mean, now
sniff it.
You're living the fucking big life.
Rub the broth on your gums.
I feel like we're getting away from where we wanted to go with this.
No,
no, that's one of my favorite
Chicken
books.
Noodle Soup for the Soul is my favorite book. Where didn't you catch
that's what I was
that?
going to say. So
All
there
right,
you go.
Well, podcast over. That's it. We're done.
It's our favorite books.
That's the episode. That's
all
it.
10 of our favorite books.
Well, there's like 100 of those books, so that would
There's
be true.
far too many of those books.
I mean, there's
in my
like
mind.
3 of them, aren't there?
There's like one for every demographic, though. I think there's like chicken
What are they
soup for
called?
young
Why is
women.
it- but
chicken
why?
soup
Okay,
for moms.
okay. So, a question: since you guys seem more educated on this topic than I do, or than I am, I should say, why is it called chicken soup for the insert demographic here? So, like, what does fucking
Because chicken soup
have to do with
is.
that?
Come on, chicken soup is what you eat whenever you're not feeling good. It's the sick soup, and when it's
Universal
applied to when you apply directly to soul, you feel good.
Yeah, there's not fucking Jimmy John's for the soul.
But that's
Pizza Hut for the soul. No, I don't want my soul to be greasy and doughy.
but it
I don't want
already
my
is.
soul to big game hunt.
But I
No,
just
my body's doughy, not my soul, Brandon. Come on.
man, what's the difference? I mean, how do you? That just sounds messy. Why would you pour soup all?
I mean,
over
what do you want? Like tomato bisque for the soul? What's wrong with chicken noodle?
I just
Do you want crackers for the soul?
Chicken noodle is
A
just like
good
I just
Cuban
don't
for the
get
soul.
it.
Good Cuban for the
it's
soul.
it's the safe soup. It's dare I say the Paul Rudd soup.
Jesus Christ!
No
you're
one
wrong.
dislikes chicken noodle.
So yeah, it's
I'm
like
not
all runs
saying-
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't dislike or like chicken noodle soup. You just eat it, and
I mean,
it's
I like
there.
Paul
and it's-
Rudd,
it has you.
Hey, I have some very strong opinions on Paul Rudd.
Yeah, you'd
Tell me
probably
about
fuck him.
Dude, hey,
Why
he
do you-
was.
Why do you go to that?
Because I know
That's
you've said these words before to me.
That's true. Right
I have
before we
never
started
once
recording, we were
said I
talking
would
about how
fuck
much
Paul
you love
Rudd.
it.
I
No.
can swear.
All right, wait.
you have.
Why,
Paul Rudd is nothing approaching my type. What are you talking about?
why wouldn't you fuck Paul Rudd? Though?
Yeah, what the fuck? That's kind of offensive.
What's wrong with him?
I don't know. I don't like Judd Apatow movies.
What if he
Fair
came
point.
over and he's just
Fair point.
Let's watch 40-Year-Old Virgin together and see what happens.
That's like the worst movie to bang to. What are you talking about?
You're not,
It's
you're
a
not
good
banging
movie.
during the fucking Brazilian wax scene. You watch the movie. You have some digest time.
Don't bang to the Brazilian waxing scene in that movie, Weaver.
Oh yeah, when Steve Carell screams, that's when I scream.
That's just I really. fucking
When
hate
he
you.
screams, I cream. I hate
Oh,
myself.
there we go. We got the big rhyme, and that's. I mean.
No,
GG,
I just
as
said
the
that,
kids
and
say.
Jamie is standing in the doorway, so I need to get a divorce now.
You need to explain yourself. I think is what you need to do.
Paul Rudd's not unattractive or attractive. He's just kind of there.
I mean, I think he's a
Yeah.
handsome man.
I think he's aged well. He looks pretty good in the new Ant-Man movie.
Yeah, isn't he like
I will say that.
40-ish now or something like that?
I think he's mid-40s. I'm pretty
He's
sure.
a 40. He looks like a crisp 31.
A
I think.
crisp.
Dude, he was like. I'm pretty sure he was in a movie a few years
What a
ago called
speech
This Is
impediment.
40.
This is 40. Oh yeah, shit, he was.
That was
Judd
like that.
Apatow,
That movie
you
was
was
like
in
5
there?
years
depressed
ago.
man.
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, it was him and that woman
Alright.
that's in all the things.
I'm getting real sick of us getting this off topic. So, before we get into our topic, how was everybody's week? I need to do
I
my
don't wanna be
intro
off
shit,
topic
damn it!
anymore. Fuck the topic.
No, I need
We
to.
have intro shit?
I need to do the intro stuff. Yeah, it's this.
Wait, no.
I thought
What
we
was
did
the
the
new
intro.
bit that I
This is-
suggested?
I don't know, and I probably didn't care. This is the first time we've had
Oh.
all three of us together in several weeks, so I want to fucking do it by the
last
book.
time, too. Do it by the book.
By the book.
I said by the book. I didn't fucking put an L in there, and you know it.
Okay, Mr. 12 shots of tequila.
I'm pretty
Listeners,
sure you
Brandon
did.
has a problem.
No, I'm just having fun. Anyway.
I'm pretty slow.
No, I'm having fun.
Anyway, how was everybody's week? Let's start there. What did you guys do? Weaver, you go first.
Well,
Put you on the
I did
spot.
I did some pretty epic stuff this week. I thought about a lot of things. I had
You
a big
always
think.
start it. Do you ever have a week that's just not epic? That's how you always say your week goes.
It's all about the mentality. You have to go into your week thinking that it's going to be epic and knowing it, because that's part of the battle. If you go
I
into it
think
with the
it's-
mentality of a winner, you'll come out a winner.
No, because not every week is good. Like, you need to say, you can stick with, I had an epic week, but there needs to be another modifier to that. Like, I had an epic good week, or I had an epic almost drowned myself in my bathtub, I was so depressed week.
I had an
I had an
epic
epic week,
fail
but I
week.
I had an epic week, but I almost shit myself the other day.
Oh, do tell. Oh, do tell.
Yeah, I don't care about the other hours of any of the week. Just tell us about that in probably 10-second span of time.
It wasn't like a very momentous occasion. It's just one of those moments where like you lose control for a little bit, and it just almost happens. In a moment of strain, like if you like, I don't remember what I was doing, but I was like, I don't know, I was like getting up or something, and like I just relaxed. I relaxed a little.
How? How do you almost shit yourself just getting? Yeah, what the fuck? Is your control over your bowels really so fucking terrible?
Well, okay, I think we can all relate to this because we all went to high school together.
Okay.
We all went to high school together, and I'm sure we all remember the draconian bathroom policy during the latter years of our time there. As in, we weren't allowed to go to the bathroom during class time. We were allowed to sign out during class time. Everything had to be done in between class periods, which was only 5 minutes, and could still be marked late if you were in the bathroom or something like that. So as a result, I trained myself to have an iron sphincter and to block any need to go to the bathroom during the school day, even if I really had to go.
Sound like it.
But
see, Weaver, I think of the three of us, you're the only one that actually applied to, because Brandon was in the "I'm special but the school doesn't do anything about it" program, and he got to go to Mrs. F's, which you did not take advantage of, so he could do whatever the hell he wanted.
I mean, I
was a library aide.
There was like shit all over the walls down there. It was the Wild West down there. You're just spraying shit.
I also just refused to shit at school just because I didn't ever want to. I always waited till I got home and then just annihilated the toilet.
No, I only wanted to do it there to defile that unsacred ground.
But I mean, that's another story for another day.
I don't think anyone enjoys going to the bathroom in schools.
I hated it because the acoustic, every time you farted, it would amplify like 500 times. And you sit down in the stalls, and there's a gap between the door and the wall of the stalls that lines directly with your dick, and it's like a 2-inch gap. So someone's using the sink, and they look up in the mirror, they just see your big fucking dick and your big pale, hairy legs just spread a gape, and you're just
your big fail legs,
your big epic fail.
Okay. Anyway, I've trained my butt to be very. It's like the. I don't know. It's the iron curtain.
This is painful.
The iron curtain. There's so many other options.
It's like it's like my ass is like the Vatican. Okay. Nothing gets in or out without my permission.
Wait, there's a Catholic priest in there?
Yes,
oh, now we're unearthing some shit. Literally.
He's the one that gets to bless my shits. But anyway, so basically, with all that strength and all that ability to hold it in, there are just times where there's a weakening in the defenses because you're just so used to you're used to the Brinks home security always being on. But when you let that falter. When you let that fall,
talking about your ass like it's the goddamn walls of Constantinople,
right?
Well, like Constantinople, it can be sacked, and
but
when
is
you
it
let
Istanbul,
that security,
or is it Constantinople? This is the.
It'll always
question.
be Constantinople.
I mean, it's been a long time gone. Why? I mean, why did Constantinople get the works?
But anyway, when you let that defense
fuck you
fail
guys! How do you not fucking get the They Might Be Giants reference? I'm mad.
I want to talk about my shit, okay?
No, Weaver, I don't know if you can tell. I'm really, trying to veer you off that horrible train track.
Okay, anyway, I can hold my poops really well, but there are times when I can't, and I almost poop myself. There.
But where were you when this occurred? That's my question.
I was probably in my house. I was sitting on the computer. I was on Reddit, and I was eating some Cheetos, and I was like, "Oh, wow, I gotta poop."
So it wasn't even like an anxiety-inducing situation. It was just like, hey, you know what? I might shit myself right now.
No.
The mood has stricken me to shit my pants.
No, you just get up. You get up a big stretch, and you just you stretch, and then there we go.
No, I have never once raised my arms to stretch and been
I have never had that happen. So you are
actually, a few months ago, I actually did shit myself.
Of course, I think I remember that.
I was
all broken.
You have shit yourself more than any adult male that I know.
I've only shit myself once in recent memory.
Exactly.
But I was coming inside, and I was like, oh, I really gotta go to the bathroom, and then opened the door to come inside, and I closed it, and I guess I just went, "Oop," and then shit a little bit. And then
okay, iron sphincter bullshit. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
right.
well,
Like, wait
look,
a
I'm
lot.
getting older, Zach. So
Oh yeah, you're
it's
fucking.
I don't have the strength.
Yeah, you,
but,
you turn
Yeah, 21's when all of that just gets way too loose.
Yeah.
But the second part of that story was I was really embarrassed by that. So
Yeah, I would be too. If I fucking...
well, I ran naked into the woods and I like threw my underwear by a tree and scuttled back and myself up.
Oh my god.
Hey, welcome to the brand new Scatcast. If you have a dirty, dirty fetish, this is the show for you.
I was gonna put it in the trash can. It would have smelled. I wasn't gonna put it outside.
Then take the trash out. Don't fucking throw it in the woods like you're a dog.
I'm right by the woods. It's there. There you go. Problem solved. You throw
right.
all your
Society
problems.
has laws.
Anyway,
So there's a pair of shitty underwear in the woods somewhere.
yeah,
So.
I've
It.
I have had quite enough of that. Zach, how was your week?
It just got ruined. Jesus fucking Christ.
It just went real bad, real fast.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm at that point in summer where I'm out of shit to do, so if I'm not at work, I just keep watching anime after anime after anime. So I've watched like 3 animes this week, but
What are some of those?
Pathetic. Just kidding. I love you.
only 3.
Tell us about them.
Well, the first one was Mirai Nikki, which
Yeah, I don't care about
is
that.
about... Yeah, I don't want to talk about this. We already did this episode last week.
That is
Old news.
actually 2 weeks ago from when this airs.
Yeah, but this one came out immediately. The leak. Oh wait, no.
It was
you're
2
right.
weeks ago in real life too.
Yeah, but it aired last week.
Here, more fun story. I made $300 in the
Annuity.
last 2 days because people really, really like whiskey and beer.
All right, Zach, where do you live? Everyone rob Zach.
All right, Zach, we're gonna need to post your address in the comments. So
Yeah,
everybody
it's,
can come to your house.
I live on Sheldon Lane.
Sheldon
Weaver,
Road.
what's your? Yeah, Weaver. What's your house number, real fast?
343 Industries.
I live at Weaver's house.
P.O. Box. Brandon's apartment in Minnesota.
Yep, exactly. Well, hey,
But,
you know what?
yeah.
Sounds like you're living your best life, and I can't fault you for
I'm
that.
really not. I need someone to
I know,
reach
that was
out to
very
me and save me.
sarcastic. That was an incredibly sarcastic comment, so I'm glad you saw through that immediately.
Do you have any near shit stories at all?
I don't want any.
No, because I know how to use the restroom in a timely manner, and B, wouldn't talk about them if I did.
Dude, I don't know where you've been, but poop jokes, that's untrampled snow, my friends.
That's the new wave.
No, poop jokes, yeah. Poop anecdotes. We don't do
Anecdotes
those.
Oh,
about shitting yourself, not so much.
Shittick. Oh, that was hard to say. Shtick.
Wow.
Shtick. That
Shtick.
transition from the T to the C. Shtick. Shittick. Sounds like a
To the T
bionicle
to
or
the
something.
C.
I don't know. Anyway, how was your week, Brandon?
Hey, you know what? It's pretty alright. I just am fucking working constantly and want to die. But that's about it.
Working on some new videos, right?
Yeah, actually, that'll, by the time this airs, that'll be out already. You guys have already seen the bad fan fiction theater. So I just figured that'd be fun to do. Because, you know, I don't know. Ooh, my voice just cracked pretty bad. I'm still going through puberty. But yeah, so I thought that would be fun to do, and I was right. It was fun. So I do plan to continue doing that. But yeah, I started reading.
All right, Creeps McPasta.
Hey, shut up! It's not creepypasta. It's really bad fan fictions. So started with personal favorite of mine, Sonic High School, and then we'll just see where the wind takes me, I guess. You know, what else I find.
Maple
what
Story
else I
ones
wanna
in
read.
there.
Huh?
Maybe there'll be some Maple Story fan
Hey,
fictions
maybe
in
you
there.
can shut the fuck up. All right, I've had enough out of you. But yeah, I work a lot.
Maple
and
Story.
That's about it, really. So yeah, that's pretty much how my week was. I don't know. Anybody else got anything interesting before we jump into our shit? Not literally, but
I'm trying pretty hard to. No more shit talk. The Scatcast is over.
I mean, I went frisbee golfing today. That was pretty fun.
wow, what are you?
Say the right name.
Like early 20-something college student?
Also stoner.
Yes.
Yeah, especially that.
But
Golf is the sport of those who do the weed.
Frolf is the sport of people that aren't good. I don't know. I couldn't really think of much for that one.
No, but it was fun though. Like we spent more time in the woods than in the actual field because I'm so bad. I kept throwing my fucking disc in the bracken and the heather, so I had to roll around, get fucking. I guess I in a frenzy to get my disc because I saw it after about 5 minutes of searching. I ran through, I guess, a berry bush and a bunch of fucking berries splattered all over my shirt. So when I came out, it looks like I was like got like cut and I was like looked like all bloody and nasty because there was like it was like currants or something. I don't fucking know, but
Goddamn.
my shirt was fucking stained. But it was fun though. Probably got like
Live a hard life.
poison ivy or something.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty fucking epic.
Anyway,
Well, then I guess with all that out of the way, now you have everybody's big update. We'll just fucking get right into it. So again, we decided that every 10th episode is going to be a top 10, just because that seems, like a fun theme to have. I don't know, maybe for like 50 and 100, we'll do something extra special, just because those are
top 50 things.
Jesus
ASMR.
Christ.
No, ASMR episode is episode 50. The promise has been made.
You've been
Top
pushing
50
the fucking
Fortnite kills.
ASMR thing so much, and I no.
Hi, welcome to the Beefcast. This is the ASMR.
All right, you can make your fucking you can make your Fortnite ASMR on your own time. All right, don't involve me in it.
Drinking some LaCroix right now.
I'm drinking the Fortnite potion in real life. But anyway, so for this top 10, we're going for top 10 books, because I fucking proposed this topic this morning because I've been reading a lot more lately, and I just want to fucking talk about some good books that I like, man. And isn't that the whole reason to have a podcast, to talk about shit that you like? So here we are. So same rules as last time. We're just gonna go around the table and do our lists. Last time being the top 10 games one. We're just gonna go around the table, do our lists, and yeah. I will say, though, one rule: you can put a series for one of your entries as long as you can specify which book in the series was your favorite, like out of that whole series. So yeah, just for each entry, name which one you like, and then have a grand old time with it. Tell us why you like it, why people should read it, and that's, I guess, really about it. That's all that there really needs to be to it. So, yeah, I guess I'll go first with my number 10. So, for my number 10, I chose the Dragonlance series. It's a series that is actually based in the universe of D&D. I'm pretty sure it's based in the Forgotten Realms, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't really remember. But it's about fucking this merry band of adventurers. Dragons are coming back and stuff after a time of peace, and shit's going real bad, so they got to go out and go on a mighty quest and fight them. Really, the main reason I like it is because of the characters. A lot of the characters are very memorable.
That one have the man Dritz Duerden in it?
No, that's actually Drizzt is the Drizzt books are really good, but I've only read like a couple, so I didn't feel justified in putting that on here. But because I've read all the Dragonlance books so far, I felt like, okay, I want to put this on here. No, but this one has I don't know if you've heard of the one mage. His name's like Raistlin or whatever, and he has like the golden like hourglass shaped eyes. He's like one of the bigger characters. Yeah, dude, it's fucking wild. He's like a mage. He's very powerful. But yeah, like there's the characters are all done really well. It's a fun adventure. A lot of good action scenes and stuff like that. Overall, a pretty fucking good read if you're into D&D stuff. But yeah, so I mean, even if you're just into fantasy and you've never like played D&D, then I think it's still worth reading. So that is my number 10 entry, would be the Dragonlance series. And specifically, my favorite book in that series was the first one. I think it's Dragons of the Autumn Twilight, I want to say. But yeah, I think I have it up right here. Yep. Yeah, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, favorite one in the series. Just because it introduces the world and the characters so well. I think it really does a good job of laying the foundation for the series to come. But yeah, so that's my number 10. Zach, you may go next.
Me? I get to go next.
You do.
I don't have them in any order because I just like to read. But
well, yeah, I mean, mine definitely. Well, I should say I think like my top 5 is in order.
Yeah, like probably my top 3 actually have an order, but yeah. So I'll just pick this one. It's called Anno Dracula, and it's by somebody named Kim Newman. It's a book about... It's an alt history book in, I want to say, Victorian London. I don't quite know the time period. Shame on me. And it's about vampires where, like, Dracula has taken over London. I think the queen is like a sex slave to him, and he has subjugated the entire empire.
What the fuck?
That's not really the main point. Yeah, no, it's fucking weird. I want to say it's about Jack the Ripper. Not gonna lie, it's been a while since I read it, but there are just parts of it that stand out to me. Like, it's one of those books where they take a bunch of other historical fictional characters and they just throw them in there. So there's like, at one point, the main character visits the Diogenes Club, which is where Mycroft Holmes hangs out all the time. But Sherlock Holmes is pointedly not in the book because the author said, yeah, if I put Sherlock Holmes in it, it would be figured out too fast and I wouldn't be able to write a book about it. So in lore, Sherlock was sent to, I think, a fucking like coal mine in Wales by Dracula.
Wow.
That's the worst place you want to be, is Wales.
Honestly.
Not even just a coal mine, just Wales in general.
Just in Wales.
There being a coal mine.
But no, yeah, it's pretty rad. I honestly don't remember the plot. It's about vampires. I know they have those weird Chinese, I want to say they're Chinese and not Japanese, the hopping vampires.
Yeah,
those are in. Yeah, they're in a part of it, which was like my first introduction to a I want to say European vampire. So when I read it, I was like 13 and I was like, that's rad.
What the fuck is a hopping vampire? Because that sounds terrifying.
Oh yeah,
no, they're vampires and they just fucking hop at you.
Yeah,
like a grasshopper.
I forget how you're actually supposed to pronounce it, but like they stand up on like 2 feet. They're like bipedal, and then they hold their arms out and like hop at you. They have these weird like spell tags on their face.
Yeah, Jianxi.
Yeah,
if you want to hear me pronounce Chinese horribly.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't want to try and butcher it.
Oh, I know I did it wrong, so I'm just apologizing right now.
Sorry, China. But yeah.
Sorry, all of China.
Hey, China, bring back NA support for Horizon Source.
Hey, China, leave Tibet alone. Hey, China. But yeah, that's going to be my number 10, I suppose, because all my other ones I feel like deserve a higher spot than 10. But that book is just, I've reread it like 3 times. I don't reread books. In fact, it's on my shelf now, and I might want to reread it again. It's been a while. But it's stuck with me for years. You hypocrite. I have a shitty-ass memory for anything involving something important in life, but I can remember most of the events from any book that I've read in the past decade.
Nice.
Kind of impressive.
Once I start reading them again. Well, I can't call them up, but as soon as I like read the first chapter, I'm like, fuck, I know everything that happens again.
I remember.
Yeah, basically. Except I'm unhappy about it. So yeah, Anno Dracula by Kim Newman.
Nice.
And apparently it's a series. Didn't know that.
Oh shit.
There
you go. Well, all right then. Weaver, what is your number 10 pick?
I would say for my number 10, I'm going to have to go with W.B. Du Bois, The Souls of Black Folk. Is probably one of my favorite books.
Is that a genuine answer?
Yeah.
Interesting. I would never put that down. I had to read that for my American literature class last semester, and it was kind of dry in my opinion. But hey, each his own.
I also read it last year around this time, and I just liked it. I took an African American history of literature course my junior year of college, and I actually really enjoyed the course. It was one of the things I had to take for my my honors institute. Ooh, I'm smart.
You.
And
everyone who listens to this isn't going to be impressed by the fact that you're in honors. Don't worry.
Especially because you just talked about shitting yourself for a solid 10 minutes at the beginning of this episode.
Even the most gifted have flaws, but anyway.
Anyhow.
But no, I really enjoyed that class, and so I looked into some of the literature of some of the authors that we discussed in it, and I like it because it examines turn of the century, first and second generation African Americans post slavery, and kind of how they've begun assimilating into the American industry, especially in the South. And it was a really pivotal time to the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And you can just really see it's like a personal account of W.B. Du Bois' experience in that region at the time, and just also anecdotes and stuff like that. It's like a collection of various things, not like a cohesive narrative. So it's more nonfiction, but it's a really great examination into sort of the industry that was starting, especially with the school systems and everything too. So many new African Americans were going into schools, and no one really knew how to set that up. So they were establishing new schools and universities for African Americans, but they didn't really have a lot of funding, and they're very hodgepodge and things like that. But the willpower and just the perseverance of the people in those communities to sort of organize into and try to just better themselves that way. And I think it's definitely inspirational for sure. It's definitely something that should that I'd recommend reading, because it's just it gives you a unique glimpse into that part of American history. And I'm a big fan of late 19th century, early 20th century history in general. So that was a cool angle that I never really saw before.
So Weaver, I have to ask you, having read some of Du Bois' stuff, have you ever read anything by Booker T. Washington? And what are your feelings, if you have, on their differences approaching racism in early 1900s America?
Dude, I love the
because
rest
let's
of Booker
get
T.
political.
They certainly were. They certainly were intellectual rivals, and I think that was pretty cool.
Got any good Booker T. Washington suggestions in your back pocket?
It was Booker T. I don't think I read any of his stuff, but he's the one that started the Tuskegee Institute, right, in Tennessee, I believe. Yeah.
Right.
He was. Yeah, I think Booker T. was the one that was kind of about keep your nose down, work, and just earn your way, and the white man will accept you. And Du Bois was just let's just fucking while out. Let's do the best that we can. And he ultimately, I believe, he moved to Africa in the 50s or 60s, I believe, and he died in Africa. So they were kind of two different schools of thought in that regard. Du Bois encouraged people his fellow African Americans, to kind of pursue what they wanted, break the mold. And Booker T was more, put in the time, put in the work, and the society will eventually accept you, kind of thing. So I can appreciate the dynamic.
I was testing you. I'm happy that you pulled that out. Good for you.
I told you that was probably one of my favorite classes in college. Honestly, it disappoints me though, at least that in my college curriculum, none of my honors classes had anything to do with my major. But that's a separate point.
I think my favorite Booker T moment is when he does the when he does the bookend, because it's a cool move. Even though it's kind of a copy of the rock bottom. Also, I mean the scissor kick is pretty powerful as well. That's
true. That's what he used to take down Du Bois. He gave him the scissor kick.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, no. The scissor kick was Booker T's strongest fucking persuasive essay that he ever wrote to someone's face.
No,
the swift scissor kick, get your opinion across.
No, I mean I'm talking about when he actually scissor kicked people in the ring, in the wrestling ring. We might be talking about different. Might
No,
be talking about
fucking
different
hell.
Booker T's here.
No, I used the term persuasive essay as a joke. You're just not picking that up. Hello, third margarita.
I mean, I never mind.
Whoa, wait, hold on, Brandon.
I'm talking about the wrestler
Brandon.
Booker T as a funny fucking
Yes,
joke.
so am I, Brandon. Cut this last minute and a half.
No!
It doesn't deserve.
I refuse.
Brandon,
audio.
Anyway, on to number
Brandon,
9.
Brandon, have you been drinking?
I have not.
Sir, can you breathe into your microphone, please?
Can you shut the fuck up and move
Let's
on
get
to
a
number
microphone
9?
breathalyzer.
Can we just move on to number
ASMR
9?
breathalyzer.
All right.
Because my
All right,
number
here we go.
my number 9 book is,
Number 9.
my number 9 is
Can I get a number 9?
I'm gonna go hang myself in my fucking closet. Anyway, my number 9 is the Percy Jackson series. A lot of my books
That's my number 9. No.
Well, shut up, bitch. A lot of my books are ones that like I read when I was young and just really enjoyed. So there's like a lot of little child books on here and young adult books. But
Fuck you, Artemis Fowl's better.
Ooh.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, it's not better.
Yeah,
it
you're
was
stupid.
good,
Fuck
but
off.
it's not better.
It had the secret. It had the secret code on the bottom of all the pages in the fairy language, and you translate it. For that?
What did
Yeah.
it say? Did it say, "Sorry, we're not as good as Percy Jackson"?
I don't know. I never translated all the way. I just got to
Well,
sorry.
well,
And then I stopped.
Just go-
We're sorry. But yeah, so Percy Jackson series, I mean, fucking who hasn't heard of this shit by now? It's the one with the Greek gods. And then they did a sequel series called The Heroes of Olympus, which actually introduced the Roman manifestations of the gods. And it was just a whole fucking wild time. But strictly speaking, the Percy Jackson series I really enjoyed just because it was a fucking fun adventure. And especially like when I read it, it was like right directly marketed at my age group. Like I was right in the precise age range, a precise demographic that the author wanted to be reading his book, and it just fucking was cool, man. Because I mean I was kind of always into like Greek mythology and stuff like that, but this like the way he personified the different gods and you know even the minor gods too, I thought it was pretty neat. And it's just interesting how his take on, you know, Greek mythology and stuff like that. Specifically, I'd say the 5th book is probably my favorite out of the original Percy Jackson series, just because, like, I mean, that's the one everything has been building up to. You know, that's the big climax of everything. You know, the final war with Gaia and all that shit, or war with the Titans. I think Gaia was.
I was going to say, do I not remember a part of that series?
No, I'm blending the two together because they're so one and the same in my mind. Gaia is the sequel series, but yeah, no, I mean the chances are if you're listening to this, you know what the Percy Jackson series is, so I shouldn't have to explain it really that much.
You should know. Do your homework before you listen to the Beefcast.
Yeah,
Bitch.
Yeah, if you don't know every book that we mention,
you're dumb and I hate you. So
Best be known
shut
about the
up.
Souls of Black Folk. Just
Yeah,
saying.
I don't know about that book.
Yeah, if you can't write a 3-page essay about the Souls of Black Folk,
You're racist.
you need to go watch more Rick and Morty.
Oh my
How about
god.
that?
Wow, how about you just fuck off and die?
Listen, it was a joke.
Are you sure?
But yeah, so I like the Percy Jackson books. They're cool. I like Greek mythology. It's also cool. You put the two together, it's pretty
It's
fucking
neat.
cool. Yeah, exactly. So, again, I mean, everybody knows what it's about. That's it. I like the 5th book because it's the big climax of the series. Anyway, Zach, you're up.
Brandon likes the climax. Sorry. Well, I had it slated as my number 9, and I suppose it's better to talk about it now than just bring it up later. So my number 9 is also Percy Jackson. I suppose I'll elaborate on why it's my number 9 rather than what it is, because Brandon, you covered that pretty I think I was in 6th grade when I read it. Yeah, that sounds right. Sure. And like you said, Brandon, at the time that it was coming out, it was like aimed at those kind of age children. And I suppose it made a big impact. And I was like, well, this is cool. The character's like my age and I can be neat too. But no, beyond that. You missed what?
I missed what you said. What book was it?
It was also.
It's also Percy Jackson.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but no, it's probably the first book series, at least, that got me into mythology, because I'm pretty sure I read the Percy Jackson series and then within the same year got 3 books on Greek mythology that I still have, and they're like big volumes of just a bunch of stories. And if I were to say that Greek mythology and mythology interest in general hasn't shaped my sort of hobbies and interests, I would be lying. I mean, probably the 2 most impactful things that book has ever done for me, series rather, is me and Petey still reference Delphin, Lord of the Dolphins, on a probably monthly basis. And the scene where Dionysus, whatever, Bacchus is a much easier name to pronounce. Dionysus is just in a bar somewhere playing fucking Pac-Man and he curses Blinky. I just chuckle about that probably once a week because it's just like, damn you, Blinky and Clyde. And it's just funny. Good series. It's full of knowledge and laughs, and I would also have to say the 5th one's my favorite because it's the big climax and there's a sex joke in there somewhere. But we're not that lowbrow. We just talk about poop.
Exactly. Well, hey, glad to know that, great minds think alike. All right, Weaver, your turn.
Okay, well, my number 9 is Percy Jackson. I'm just kidding. No, my number 9 is, and sorry if I'm being a bitch by doing classic literature, but it's Jonathan Knowles' A Separate Peace. I read it in high school. I had to for my English class, my senior year of high school, and I really liked it. I definitely related with it. It's basically about these 2 friends that are in this private school during like World War II, and they're kind of like competing with each other intellectually, and it just sort of follows their drama and their sort of just the events that are going on at that time, and it ultimately comes to a pretty interesting climax. I won't spoil it, but I definitely related to it because my senior year of high school, I had a lot of difficult classes, and I was, obviously that's the time where you're trying to look for colleges too, if you do choose to go to college, and so I was really like pushing myself a lot. And I was trying my best to do really, really well in school. And I kind of felt burnt out during that time as well. So I could definitely relate with sort of like the striving to be a good student and a good, just a good learner that the main character experiences in his time. Nothing, that's just kind of how the book is pretty much. Nothing really intense or exciting. Other than really like the climax, but I just liked it. I liked how it was written. It felt like a good read. It was like a comfortable read. So I definitely recommend that one.
So you read it in your senior year of high school. Would you say it resonated with you as some other things in that time of high school resonated with you?
I didn't watch Mr. Nobody in my senior year of high school. So, that was sophomore year. So fuck you.
I just said around that time.
Same thing.
I haven't watched Mr.
We were about halfway into your speech. I was like, I just need to dig at him for Mr. Nobody.
Hey, I'm sober now, so I could talk about Mr. Nobody.
You don't need to, please.
It's a good movie. It resonated with me, but anyway.
It sure did.
Yeah.
Damn.
Still resonating to this day.
Separate Peace. If you're in high school, you're probably going to read it. So yeah, it's good. You might not like it at first. It's kind of a dry read, but I definitely, in retrospect, and even during the time, like when we moved on to our next book in the class, I thought back on it. I was like, it was nice. Because we were reading it right around like the holidays and like January and stuff like that. And that's like one of my favorite times of year. So it was a good time of year. It was a nice, comforting book. It was like, yeah. So a lot of it's like to do with where you were at that time. So, and like the environment that you were in. And that was definitely a good time for me.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hey, I love a good book that supports mental exercise and whatnot. Grow your minds.
You gotta train your brain. Big Brain Academy, Nintendo DS. Buy it today.
Not as good as Nintendo.
I was gonna say you sounded so smart, and then it just crashed. Anyway, I'm just fucking.
I'm an intellectual. I read good books.
I read Booker T. Washington, not the wrestler.
Sorry, Weaver. It's well books. You read well books.
I don't know any books about whales.
Sad. All right, number 8. I will go. My number 8 is the Alex Rider series. Big throwback.
Oh,
personally
shit!
for me. Yeah, dude.
Oh my God.
I think it was like from 6th through like, I think I finished like, or I got pretty close to the end of the series in like 9th or 10th grade. They were still coming out with books. I think there was actually one released last year.
Really?
Because I looked it up earlier when I was trying to think of my list, and it said that there was one in 2017, so that was interesting.
Well, shit, I lack closure on that series.
Right? But yeah, so the Alex Rider series, it's basically like mini James Bond without all the gross sex. But yeah, no, I mean, he's a teenager, he's a fucking super spy, I think he was in MI6, right? And I think later on the CIA contacted him. But yeah, he was like a super spy going around the world, having a fucking grand old time, having a bunch of adventures. And it was just like, it was that high octane action. It was like fucking, cool spy gadgets and stuff too. I remember all the gadgets were always really sweet.
The gadgets were one of my favorite parts. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it was just like genuinely good fun, and it was really entertaining. And I think my favorite was the 9th book, Scorpio Rising. And I think that one was my favorite just because it's the one in the series where, like, he just gets his shit completely fucked up. It's like a lot of the villains from earlier books come together and they build, like, a Sinister Six, essentially, or, like, a Legion of Doom against Alex Rider, because it's, like, all the people he's defeated in his quests, earlier in the series. But they all decide...
Bunch of adults pissed off.
Pretty much. But, like, they all decide to, like, all right, let's just pool our resources and try to fucking get this kid. And, like, just the shit that he goes through in this book is so ridiculous. Like, I think at one point he gets waterboarded. And, like, yeah, dude, it's pretty brutal, honestly, for being, like, a teenager book.
Wait, yeah. Anthony Horowitz, isn't that the guy who conducted all the music for fucking La La Land? They have similar names.
I feel like you're trying to make a joke here, and it's just going way over my head.
No, I'm not. I think they might have the same name.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna ignore it. Anyway,
wasn't a joke.
But yeah, no, it was just such an entertaining series, and I thought it was. I thought that one specifically was cool, but just because it showed him at such a low point after, like, all of the other missions and stuff he had done, after all the other books in the series, he had been, like, constantly on top. He was always, like, one step ahead of his enemies and shit. But this one, like, it really took him down a peg, and he was like, oh, wow, like, maybe there's stuff I can't do, So it was a really humanizing moment for the character, and I thought it was pretty necessary, but I really enjoyed reading the 9th book specifically in that series. So I looked up the series just to, like, give myself a refresher on what you're talking about, and one of the names of the book stuck out for me because it had probably, in my young age, what was one of the most stressful situations I ever read in a fucking book. It's in the 6th book, Archangel, and I remember very exactly. He was trapped in a massive fucking tank of water with a Portuguese man of war and could not breathe, and if it touched him, he would die. Yep. And I don't remember how it got resolved, but I remember the whole time I was like... Yeah, no, I do remember that one. Oh, shit. Yeah, you're fucking bringing back big memories here. But yeah, no, that one was fucking crazy.
Yeah, nice. Sorry to jump in, but I just remembered that out of nowhere.
No, but yeah, I mean, it's cool fucking spy action. You got some good fun shit. I mean, even if you're, obviously older than the target demographic, it's still pretty neat to see, like, the gadgets were cool, the different shit. I don't know, I'm rambling at this point. It was good. That's what I have to say about that.
Do you think Alex Cross is like a combination of James Bond and Alex
Jones?
Sorry.
Alex Jones.
Yeah.
God, I hope.
No, I was going to say Alex Rider is a combination of James Bond and the Alex Cross books, because that's another spy series, I think.
Gotta go to Infowars.com. We have all the latest gadgets that you'll need. All right, we got Superman Vitality, great gadget. We have Gay Frog Serum. Inject it into your PP. Yeah.
Okay, you're going back to the conspiracy episode.
PP a lot. So I think we're gonna move on.
I've never said PP on this podcast.
On the podcast, but you fucking say it all the time, IRL.
Yeah, the other day you said it like 4 times in a span of 10 minutes, and it made me pretty uncomfortable because you're not
hard, didn't it?
But anyway, turn, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what? We're on 7?
No, 8.
Does it? Oh shit!
Yeah, this is number 8. Come on.
Yeah, we're far from done. I know, right?
I just got too excited. I'm sorry. But okay, so my number 8 is from a name that will appear later on towards the end of my list, Jim Butcher, and the series is The Furies of Calderon.
Oh.
Now, Weaver, I feel like this might tickle your fancy. It's not an alternate history book, but it is essentially just the ancient Roman Empire ripped directly out of like fucking history and put into a fictional universe.
Nice.
So imagine the Roman Empire, but instead of like centurions, you're able to, in this universe, capture like elemental spirits of like earth, fire, water, and air, and either like summon physical manifestations of them, or they like give you physical attribute boosts. Like if you have an earth one, you can be extra strong and hardy, and I think your sword gets better. I don't know why. But it follows this. It's a shitty fucking rehashed formula. Farm Boy, Epic Destiny, spoiler, ends up to be a big player in the world. But I like it because it is both a good series, and he also wrote, I want to say there's 5 of them, purely on a bet that he couldn't make a series that was essentially just Pokemon.
Oh.
Because in the series, they just like take control of and command these elemental like little beasties and gain powers from them, and evidently that's his representation of Pokemon.
Jeez.
But no, they do that.
Adults.
It's an adult book.
What was the name again?
Furies of Calderon.
Okay. I'll have to.
But yeah, the main enemy in the first few books is some bug people. If I remember, yeah, there's bug people on their border, and then
nice.
Turns out that there's also werewolves. It gets a bit silly towards the end, but it's good.
It did.
But yeah, I suggest that. Jim Butcher is a really good author, but he writes some silly concepts. Don't let that get in the way of it.
Sometimes you got to be silly, you know?
Yeah. He's also really bad at set scenes. I don't know if there are any in that series, but a series I'll mention later.
Fucks one of the magical creatures that he tames.
He fucks his Pokemon.
God, I hope not. There might be a vaguely like sensual relationship in there. I don't know. But in another series, he fades to black. He doesn't like full out 50 Shades of Grey it, but before he fades to black, it's like, can you stop using those words to describe the actions you're talking about?
Jesus. Well, no need for me to read that then. If there's no good description of sex, I don't give a shit.
There's a lot of big boobs, Brandon.
Oh, well, maybe I will have to read it. You've piqued my interest. Anyway. Weaver, you're number 8.
Oh, dude. It's got to be fucking Magic Treehouse. You guys ever read Magic Treehouse?
Are you fucking serious?
Serious?
Are you...
Look.
What's the last book you read?
Like, are you fucking with me right now? Or are we... Because if you are,
I'm being
I
serious.
don't appreciate it.
Look. Okay.
I mean, yeah, I guess, you know...
Whenever... You guys were saying Percy Jackson and all this shit, but you know what? I went before.
That's about
before
4
that.
grade levels higher.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 or 5.
It's not like I was reading it whenever I was like 20 or something. No.
We've read several of them yesterday.
You guys read the new Magic Treehouse? No.
You know, I'm actually looking on Wikipedia right now, and there is the latest Magic Treehouse was from July 2016. So
God.
fuck you. But anyway, no. Whenever I was a young little boy in elementary school, me and my friend Jack, we would always read the Magic Treehouse books, and we had a lot of fun with them. And it was right around the time that he had like the like a spin-off series. It was basically, if you don't know the story, it's about these 2 kids. They have a magic treehouse, and it takes them to all these different times and places. So like they'll go to like Rome, or they'll go to like ancient Egypt or something, or they'll go to the Civil War, or they'll go to like the Outback and just have a grand old time, have a little adventure, all contained within the book. But like I think
So
there's
it's
like a
Doctor
background
Who for
story.
kids in a treehouse.
Basically.
Oh God,
It's
yeah, it
basically
is.
Doctor Who for kids in a treehouse.
Oh
But there was, like-
wow, I never really.
Yeah, I mean when you put it that way. Oh shit, no. There's even newer ones.
Jesus.
2017, 2018. There's one pegged for January 2019. But anyway,
Wow, they're still going at it. Yeah, no, I used to read those with my mom all the time when I was like fucking 7.
whenever I got into them,
Listening is curious. Magic Treehouse came out 2 years before Magic School Bus. I'm sorry.
Damn.
yeah, so fuck you, Magic School Bus and Miss Crinkle or whatever the hell her name was.
Yeah, close enough. Fuck it.
But
Crinkly Chip.
but whenever I was getting into them, that's whenever the author was starting the like this subplot about like Merlin and King Arthur and stuff
Yep,
like that.
I do remember that.
And so specifically, Christmas in Camelot was the first of that series that I read, and they were a bit more meatier than the traditional series. It was meant for advanced readers.
Advanced.
But
For those with a grade level of 3.
yeah, no, but I just remember that one specifically. I mean, I read a few of the original ones, did like book reports on them whenever we were like in elementary school and like yada yada yada. But what is this fucking Seinfeld? Jesus Christ! But anyway, the Merlin and King Arthur sub-series, specifically the first one, Christmas in Camelot, there was a lot of alliteration in them, in the titles. But I just liked the books; they were charming. It was like a Monster of the Week, Story of the Week kind of feel to it, and they were really easy reads as a kid. It's kind of like, I don't know, whenever we had to do book reports in school, I remember everyone always read Holes, the book Holes, because like the chapters were like 2 pages long, and so everyone always did Holes because it was such an easy read. But it was kind of like that. They're easy reads, but it's like charming, and it's a nostalgia thing for me. But I like it more than my previous 2 that I said, just because I think back on those days and I'm like, oh, Game Boys, Cosmic Brownies, Magic Treehouse. I don't know.
You've won me over with Cosmic Brownies. Magic Treehouse is my number 1 now.
No, I remember I had because they also released like data books along with
Yeah, there's like companion fact books.
Yeah, I read the data books a lot. Like I remember those were
Wow,
really
you're
cool.
a fucking nerd.
Hey, shut up. I remember I read the Egypt one and the one about knights a lot. Couldn't tell you shit that was in them these days, but I remember just reading those a lot, and those were really cool. But yeah, no, I remember reading those with my mom all the time when I was like 7.
Mary Pope Osborne. That's the author. I said he earlier, I think.
Well, no, because didn't she write them with her husband? Or at least the data books I think she wrote like with her husband or something.
She's 69 years old.
Dude.
Shut up.
Well, hey, all right. So I guess that means it is time for number 7.
Number 7. Coming in Camelot. That's for the advanced reader.
That's for the big boys. Anyway, my number 7 is the Ranger's Apprentice series. I have like, fucking.
Is this all series with you guys?
Yeah, no,
Is
no,
it literally
fucking.
just all
Okay,
series
no,
with
no,
just
no, no,
succinct books?
no. 6 through 10 for me is series, and then 5 through 1 are specific books.
All
Good.
of mine are series.
Yeah.
This
I
is
don't
my
read books.
first series in my list.
So okay, so yeah, 7 for me, Ranger's Apprentice series.
I thought we were supposed to do specific ones.
I've been fucking doing that. Have you not been listening?
Yes.
No.
I can tell.
No. You can tell from the way you said yes. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I can because I've been doing that. Anyway, but yeah, Rangers Apprentice series. It's a pretty good fantasy series about this kid who's growing up. He's kind of a little shit, but he wants to be a knight initially, but then gets his ass beat by his rival, then who later turns into his friend. So then he decides, he's like, you know what, fuck being a knight. I don't want to be a knight. That's stupid. I hate knights. I'll be a ranger instead. And he meets this cool...
my character class.
Yeah, exactly. He multi-classes. He meets this cool, mysterious ranger guy named Halt. He's basically the Kakashi of the Rangers Apprentice series because he's fucking cool and good at everything.
Fingers kids' butts in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Did that ever bother you about Naruto? Because I thought about it the other day and I got real uncomfortable.
That is a good point. I mean, that's a different culture, so we don't worry about that.
Yeah.
It's okay to finger butts.
Put my finger in you.
Yeah, no, Rangers Apprentice series was real cool. I remember I read the first, 5 or 6 in the school library in, 8th grade, and then I didn't realize that they made, 3 more afterwards. Apparently they're up to, 13 or something now, or, I don't know. They've done a lot more since then. But then I remember...
Damn, really?
Yeah, I remember this one kid that I was in a play with. It was in the Velveteen Rabbit with him. He let me borrow 7 through 9, and I haven't talked to him since.
Did you give the book back?
Nope. Like I
You're
said,
the worst.
haven't talked to him since. Dude, I fucking haven't talked to him. I'm sure I have him somewhere.
Find him. Return his books.
I don't
Hey,
fucking...
I have your books. That's the topic of conversation.
I mean, he clearly doesn't give a shit. I mean, he hasn't fucking contacted
It's
me.
been digging at him for years.
You're gonna wake up in the middle of the night one day. It's just gonna be standing over your bed with a silence pistol. Want my books back, Brandon?
But
No, you ever see that clip from Clifford? Not Clifford. Courage the Cowardly Dog. The Return the Slab.
Yeah,
He's just going to be standing outside your fucking door. Return the books.
But no, I thought it was really cool because it was these books were my first experience with actual fucking character development in a series. In that the kid's douchebag rival at the beginning, who ends up becoming a knight, actually becomes one of the better characters in the book just because of how he grows and changes along the journey, and even the main character Will grows and changes as well. So it was my first experience with actual well written characters. So I think that's probably why I liked it a lot, and it was just a cool story. I mean, fucking fantasy was cool. Rangers are cool. They shot arrows at shit. But I think my favorite.
Was there sufficient magic?
I don't think they really did magic. Actually, it was very low fantasy. It wasn't they didn't really get into the topic of magic too much. It was very sword based. I think my favorite book in that series was the 4th one because it was far enough into the series where Will, the main character, was starting to become competent on his own as a ranger. So he had some cool moments, and it was they had to fight this war for a northern kingdom. They had to help them out, and I guess there were invaders that were trying to come in and conquer their kingdom or some shit. So there was big battle scenes and just a lot of cool action and stuff. And I thought that was really sweet in middle school. So I enjoyed that a lot. And again, it was at that point where everybody in the series was pretty good at what they were doing. So everybody had their big moments in the battle. And it also had lasting ramifications on the series, lasting changes that carried over into the other books. So I thought it was really neat. They had a strong sense of continuity between them all. But yeah, it's a good series. I mean, you can probably find it anywhere in the fucking young adult fiction section. So again, if you're into Rangers shooting arrows at things, then you go right ahead and read it.
I have to ask: is there any way that your dad introduced that series to you?
Nope. Found it on my own.
Oh, but the man is obsessed with Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, you would think. But no, I think I told him about it, actually.
Dad-son books. No, I remember reading... I think I only read one of them, but I remember a scene where they were running away from people and literally burned a bridge, and looking back, that metaphor is very heavy-handed.
Yeah, that was the first one. if I remember correctly.
There you go.
But yeah, no, good series. I would highly recommend. All right, Zach, your number 7.
My number 7. Oh wait, this one's an actual single book by itself, I think, unless someone made it. It's gonna sound real dumb because most people I talk to actually hate this book, but I don't know why. I really enjoy the book. Fuck them. Lord of the Flies.
Why do people hate it?
I assume. I don't know. A lot of people I talk to just don't like Lord of the
Well, they're
Flies.
stupid.
Probably
I
'cause they
assume
have to
both
read
of
it
you
in
know
school.
what Lord of the Flies is.
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, we fucking
Yeah.
read it. And
Yeah.
I read that.
They probably
with,
hate it because they had to read it in
with my
school.
girl.
That's
I had to read. People got to read Ender's Game in school. If people hate Ender's Game because of that, I'm going to fucking murder
I mean,
English teachers.
Ender's Game's okay.
I just hate Ender Games because it's pretentious, but
Whoa, fuck
Wow.
you.
Damn.
It's true, but it's rude. No, I really liked Ender's Game. Oh, shit, that should probably be on my list. Whatever.
Like
I really
Ender's
liked Ender's
Lane.
Game in the following books after that, which are a bit more mature. But then it turns... All of the books after Ender's Game, like all fucking 4 or 5 of them that the guy wrote, are like, yeah, freedom, personal rights, we shouldn't put other people down, blah, blah, blah. Orson Scott Card fucking hates the gays. Like a lot.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah, he's a hypocritical bigot. It's a good combination. Anyway, about Lord of the
gay
Flies.
people in Ender's Game.
Actually, yeah, aren't
I
they?
mean,
I'm pretty sure there are.
Maybe the aliens that they have to genocide were gay people.
Jesus.
I ship Ender and his lieutenant Hot Soup. So,
Yeah, I don't remember
but
any of that shit.
that's the only name of the other kid in Battle School that I remember, Hot Soup. Because
What about Venus? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Bean.
Yeah,
that was his
I-
name.
I was gonna say I read Ender's Game.
That was fucking stupid names.
Yeah, I read Ender's Game in like 4th grade.
They were
and
8.
Didn't understand what was going on, so.
I read it in high school. It was.
I mean, I read it
I
again
liked
in
it,
high school,
whatever.
and I was like, "This is okay." But yeah, anyway.
I'm talking about Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a minute, that wasn't the book that you said that. Yeah, I couldn't remember for a second.
I
Okay,
just
but
needed
yeah,
more people. Got cards a bigot. Sorry.
true. Anyway, Lord of the
I think it's old
Flies,
news.
I like it.
Lord of
Why
the
do you like
Flies.
it?
Yeah, I really. Should I out a professional and say their name? Whatever. 8th grade English teacher at school we went to, who also had orange hair, Brandon,
Oh yeah. know
suggested I read it because it wasn't a part of the curriculum that year. And I read it, and I really liked it, and I was like, yeah, that's a cool book, thanks. And then a few years later in high school, I found this book in our library that was like 12 different ways that you can interpret Lord of the Flies, and it was literally every fucking like English theory from like Marxist to romanticism and feminist theory of just picking apart Lord of the Flies, and I thought that was real fucking rad. So I read through it like 8 times and was like, yeah, this is totally right. And just got, once you read a book that many fucking times, you have to like it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But it also has the distinction of throughout all of high school being my go-to, I want some bonus points on this test or quiz or whatever, so I'm going to make some stupid connection between Lord of the Flies and whatever we're reading and how it's significant to the lesson that this test is on, and always got like, oh my god, this is so good comments on those. I think one of them I was like, yes, this symbolizes blah blah blah, just as Piggy's glasses breaking do. And that was the creepy teacher who definitely didn't date a student the year after they graduated.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he was like, wow, this is great. And I was like, thanks, it's my original thought.
My original content.
I like it when
Yeah.
the fat kid gets obliterated by the boulder.
Yeah, hey,
fucking
you leave Piggy
destroyed.
alone.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was.
I like the part
Dude, he gets fucking heated, dude.
Dude, they just.
I
they
like the
fucked
part
him
where
up.
they gloss over the fact that they kind of rape one of the boys with a spear, but whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they like
did you
gloss
even-
over that real fast.
I don't think you even said what it's about. Anyway, boys trapped
Oh,
on an
yeah.
island after a plane crash.
World War II,
Yeah.
anarchy.
Yep. Pretty much.
They hate each other. Conch shell, SpongeBob.
The magic conch.
Shit, is that episode about Lord of the Flies?
It probably is.
Oh no!
Wow. Yeah, because I just thought about that now. Fuck. That's ooh. Interesting. Anyway, well, hey, you know what? Good to know that you like Lord of the Flies. I thought it was pretty good too. It's a good book. Got to read it sometime. It's a classic. For your brain.
It's a good brain book.
Yeah. Weaver, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is All Quiet on the Western Front. It's a war book about German soldiers on the front lines of World War One. It was also a book that I read during school, but I didn't read it because I had to read it. I just read it. I think I did like a project on it,
Fucking
but
dork.
I really like World War One. It's my favorite war. I don't know. It's just like a non-morbid way. It's the war that I find the most interesting. I'll say that. But I just thought it was cool because I was reading it, and I think it took me a little bit to realize that it was actually about German soldiers. Because that's the thing. Whenever you learn about war in school, like it's always like the German soldiers are fucking evil and shit like that. And so reading a book from the perspective of the German soldiers on the front lines of World War One, it was really interesting. It kind of just chronicles just general battlefield fatigue, shell shock, PTSD, and just like the group of people, the group of friends that the main character has, slowly like going off one by one if they're killed or they get an injury or leave and stuff like that. And just ultimately, it's just a really interesting book. Highly recommend it. It highlights it really shows like the war isn't all that glorious, but I mean I think we all know that in the fucking 21st century where we've been at war for like 1 billion years. So, you know, it's definitely a good read to have because I believe the author, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that he fought in World War One. I could be wrong about that. So there's definitely a lot if that is the case. But either that or the book was written very shortly after World War One, so it's fresh in the minds of everyone that was reading it at the time when it came out, when it was published. But it's definitely cool. Check it out. Read it, idiot.
Would you say that reading that book, I just feel like asking you questions on the stuff that you say because you're talking nonfiction and it's more like stuff to glean from it, like those wise, perhaps? I don't know. Would you say that reading that from the perspective of German soldiers, perhaps you touched upon it where in school,
You got it. I'm a Nazi.
The Germans are evil, evil, evil. No, I'm not saying you became a Nazi sympathizer, but did it sort of balance the scales of your possible opinion on, like, clearly not like Hitler himself, but the low-ranking soldiers who were under the oppressive German thumb and having to do what they did to survive? Well, the ones that did that and didn't just, do it because they were bad and wanted to and hated
them. What was the question?
Did you
essentially
gain
reading about it
sympathy?
Yeah. As I say, did reading about it make you more sympathetic for like the foot soldiers rather than like the big leaders and shit that we always learned about in school?
Tom Cruise and Valkyrie.
Yeah, did you become more sympathetic for Tom Cruise?
I don't know why anybody would be sympathetic for Tom Cruise. He's a fucking Scientologist.
I get really sad about Tom Cruise sometimes. Vanilla Sky got a nasty tumor face in that movie, but no, I mean, yeah, it definitely, because like, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just like, especially in American education, it's just like every war you hear about is just like the American soldiers are like the good guys and stuff like that, and it's just like you see Saving Private Ryan, it's like, oh, okay, and then you just but it's just nice to see something from like the other perspective for once.
Awesome.
Fuck the troops. I'm just kidding.
Jesus. Might have to cut that one out.
But, yeah. A little ornery.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway. Well, then I guess that means it is time for number 6. So, my number 6, as I said, is the last series that I have on my on my list here. Well, I mean, I guess technically the last series, because I mean I have other books on here that are in a series, but like whatever, I'll get to it later.
They're not kids' books. They're not for babies.
Actually, yeah, that is true. This is the last baby book on. I mean, the Dragonlance series is an adult series. I mean, that's a big boy series. Anyways, my number 6 has got to be the Imaginarium Geographica series, which I honestly don't know if anybody else that I've talked to but me and my dad have read this series. So
or even fucking heard of it.
Really? That's crazy.
Imaginarium of Dr. Pernicius, Bill Murray.
I can't fucking believe that like nobody else has heard it. But anyways, it's the Chronicles of the Imaginarium Geographica, and essentially it's it started with the book Here There Be Dragons, and the overall plot is these 3 guys, John, Charles, and Jack, are scholars at Oxford. They're united by the death of John's mentor, Stellan Sigurdsson was his name. And they receive this book called the Imaginarium Geographica, which records mythical and fictional locations. So they're like the new caretakers of it, and they have to do like the different maps of various fictional places, and it's like there's all kinds of crazy fantasy shit. But at the very end of the book, the first book, it's revealed that John, Jack, and Charles are J.R.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and Charles Williams. So it's like, oh, cool, they're all, fictional. They're all, famous authors. And then it just goes the fuck in with that whole premise, like, in further books. They travel to, like, various different fictional worlds. Like, I think it was the 3rd book, they go into the world of the Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court by, I believe that was Mark Twain. But
yeah, I think.
Yeah, but then it has it has Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. There's like every fucking big like fantasy author of like the 18 and 1900s is somehow in this. And I think my favorite book out of all of them would be the second one. I forget what it was called. Search for the Red Dragon. It had a lot to do with James Barrie, dude that wrote Peter Pan. So they go to Neverland, but then like the underworld of Neverland is divided into 9 circles, like Dante's Inferno. Yeah, dude, it's fucking wild. They go to like Plato's cave, and it's just like when I was first reading it, like I knew a bit about like all these different like, legendary fucking authors and their literature, but like the amount that it taught me about like classic literature and stuff like that is fucking crazy. Like I went and looked into all these different people and all these different like locations and shit after reading it, and it really like fucking made my brain expand. But it was really cool to see them all interact and stuff like that. But yeah, they searched like for the different places to map out on these like magical dragon ships and stuff like that. Like it's so hard to explain, honestly, and it's so fucking weird, but it all works out really well. Like I definitely don't think I'm doing it justice.
That's why the audience is encouraged to read it.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're into, again, 18 and 1900s like fantasy literature and stuff like that, all of the fucking classic stories. Like, yeah, here I'm looking in the 4th book. They learn about a lot of past caretakers. It houses there's a house, Tamerlane House, based on Edgar Allan's poem Tamerlane. It's on a secret island in the in their big archipelago. It houses the portraits of previous caretakers. J.M. Barrie, Miguel de Cervantes, Geoffrey Chaucer, Leonardo da Vinci, Daniel Defoe, Charles Dickens, Alexandre Dumas,
Willem Dafoe?
Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, with the Brothers Grimm, Rudyard Kipling, Washington Irving, Edgar Allan Poe, Franz Schubert, Shakespeare, Mary Shelley and Percy Shelley, Jonathan Swift, Mark Twain, Jules Verne, like it fucking everything. Every big name from that period of time in literature is somehow involved in this, and the way that the author just fucking weaves them all together so well, it's crazy. Again, I'm definitely not doing it justice by explaining it, but it's real dang good.
Actually,
that actually sounds super interesting.
It is.
What's it called again?
Well, the first book is called Here There Be Dragons, but the series is the Chronicles of the Imaginarium Geographica. There's 7 books in it. I have not been able to find past the 4th book, so I mean, good luck.
Fucking Kindle it, my dude.
Yeah, I probably should, but yeah, it's crazy. It's a good read too. Like it's a very solid read, and like, you know, I know I already said one of the big spoilers of the first book, but it kind of is the foundation for the whole concept of like these previous authors and their work being related to the Imaginarium Geographica like book and the maps inside it and stuff. But yeah, a lot of fun.
Fuck. This is the first thing we've talked about that I want to read right now.
You should. I think you would really enjoy it, especially being that you're a big dork.
Well, thanks.
But yeah, no, again, if you at all enjoy or are interested in literature from that period, I'd say check it out. So, Zach, your turn. Number 6. Okay,
so Brandon, you just talked about a bunch of ancient old loser dudes and their books. My next entry is again a series. I'm sorry, basically all of mine are series, Weaver, and I'm unapologetic about it.
That's okay. I don't take offense.
I'm skipping millennia away from Brandon and his topic, and I'm going to say it's called the Culture series by Ian M. Banks. It's a space opera collection of books. It's not largely connected from book to book, but they are all in the same collective universe. But general definition, the culture that it's named after is this like massive 9,000 plus year old spacefaring culture formed by a bunch of humanoid races and AIs that they upload whenever the bodies get old, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll die, because they choose to die of their own. No, this is before Black Mirror. Black Mirror took their idea. But no, to try and explain the whole like structure of the society within the culture would honestly take a decent amount of time, because everything is run by AIs. People don't actually have to do anything, but they are people that choose to mostly work within like the governmental, military and political section of the culture. But the culture is this big, like, expansive empire that it's sort of like the exact opposite of what the catchphrase for Star Trek is, where they like don't interact with people. Their whole thing is like they find the civilizations that are just on the precipice of like, I think it's called transcending, where they become like a part of the culture and they're a spacefaring actual like player on the large field. And there are some books that focus on like civilizations that are just about to reach that point and what it's like getting into the culture. And then there are other books that focus on like most like practically secret agents of the cultures fighting wars with other similar like just absurdly huge galactic empires and stuff like that. There's a handful of books, less than 10, I think. I don't want to count right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11, sure.
Damn.
And like they range from what I would have to call my favorite, because it was the first one I read, all the way back in 7th grade. It's called Matter, and it follows a special agent who is a part of the culture and is in that like secret agent division, but she's also the former princess of one of the transcended empires that through some convoluted process she ended up in the culture and became one of the members of the culture, but her like planet and race aren't actually uplifted yet. And it follows her, and she has to go on some mission back to her home planet because I think someone's like fucking up the throne or something, and the culture doesn't want that to happen because it'll either set the society back or take them too far too soon. One of those, I don't remember. And then there's another one which I want to say is Consider Phlebas, which is also just funny. But that one is practically entirely told through the perspective of an AI that runs like one of the culture's military ships, like just in the middle of space, fully sentient, self-manned AI ship. And it's like chronicling a war between the culture and some other race and like the ups and downs of that. So you get this weird mixture of like this personalized, like this is a just normal lady. Granted, she has like biokinetic enhancements and a talking sentient robot murder missile that flies around and stabs people like the fucking arrow in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Damn.
But it's a person. It is a woman with thoughts. And then you have this ship that they portray as thinking in a very like sort of human, but still like this is obviously a like not quite human entity way. It's a good mixture of interesting things. So yeah, the Culture series by Ian M. Banks. It's like the biggest space opera that I can think of that I've read.
Yeah. it does
Culture
sound
by
fucking
Migos.
wild. Yeah, exactly. Culture and Culture 2 by Migos. Out now.
Yeah, they actually ghost wrote 5 of the books.
I could see it.
In fact, the Migos are big into space operas.
Hell yeah,
Should
dude.
do a space opera.
They should. They definitely should.
Probably working on one.
Oh, yeah, of course. But, all right, Weaver, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is The Portrait of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde.
Big
I
classic.
tried to read that.
A fun book. I really enjoyed it. I watched the 2009 movie first with Colin Firth, and I'm a big fan of Colin Firth. King's Speech, if you haven't seen that one. But basically, the book is about this beautiful young man who makes a deal with the devil to preserve his beautiful form, and all the effects of aging would be inflicted upon a picture of himself, a portrait that he hides in his attic under a cloth. So with that power, he's able to indulge in great amounts of hedonism without any repercussion.
Hell
And
yeah.
ultimately, you know, as you would expect, things don't work out in the end, and the whole ploy is revealed. And yeah, but I just really like it. It's a really cool book. It's definitely a good example of like Victorian era literature. Oscar Wilde is just a crazy character to begin with. And
Wasn't Oscar Wilde in prison for being gay?
he wasn't in prison for being gay. He was in prison, I believe, for oh no, it might have been for being gay. It was like he had.
Well, I'm sure he was like in prison for quote unquote sodomy, which is just you're gay, go to jail.
No, yeah, you're right. It might have been sodomy.
Damn, I didn't know.
But yeah, he died in prison. But yeah, he was. I mean, the story of Oscar Wilde. He's just a crazy character, and his books and his plays are even just a reflection of that. And Dorian Gray is just cool. It's just an interesting book. It explores the consequences of indulgence. I think it personifies that quite literally, and it definitely makes you. It makes you think, because initially, Dorian's friend, who Colin Firth plays in the movie, his friend kind of encourages his behavior, and he's kind of like, he starts out kind of innocent, but the more he hangs out with this person and indulges in things that his friend does, and he eventually surpasses his friend in his hedonism, and it's just interesting to see, like, what you learn from others and how that can affect you, and you even can make it further beyond what that person ever meant for it to have it for you. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't think I'm wording it properly.
You know,
but you know what I mean, though?
I mean, I gotta say, it all sounds pretty wild.
Indeed. With an E.
Oh, yeah.
With an E.
No, but yeah, Portrait of Dorian Gray. It's not a really big book. I don't think Oscar Wilde did many novels. I think it might have been his only novel. I think so. I'm not sure because I don't research. But he was. I think he was a big play guy. But it's not a big read, but it's definitely interesting. Or check out the movie. There's probably a couple movies done, but the one that I'm talking about is like the 2009 one. Ben Barnes, I believe, plays Dorian Gray. He was in a couple of the Narnia movies. Handsome young British man. And Colin Firth was also a handsome British man. A lot of handsome British men in that movie, so...
All right, go on then.
Yeah, man. Show us your portrait.
And if you don't want to read the actual book or watch a dedicated movie, just watch League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, I was waiting to. Yeah, I was gonna say I was waiting to mention League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
See, every time you guys say League of well, it's not like you guys say it often, but every time I hear League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I think of League of Gentlemen, which is like the British sketch comedy show.
No, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Dorian Gray's in that.
No, you're talking about the thing with Sean Connery, right?
Absolutely. Why would I not?
Check out League of Gentlemen though. If Little Britain copied off of it a lot.
That's not a book. We're not talking about it.
League of Gentlemen predated Little Britain.
Anyway.
So, fuck you. Hey. What's his name?
Colin Firth.
Not Colin Firth. Whatever.
Yeah.
Brandon, you're up.
David Williams. David Williams.
All right. Number 5 for me is my first singular book on this list. So, congrats to me for finally getting there. I gotta go with It.
Don't clap.
Yeah, I gotta go with It by Stephen King.
Wait, It?
Yeah, make your fucking stupid puns. Go ahead, get them out of your system.
What's It about?
You done? I mean, I mean, with how fucking huge the movie was and how popular the book was and the miniseries that they had before, everybody fucking knows what It's about. It's about the scary clown who turns out to be like a manifestation of all fear in the universe. It's like from another dimension. It's fucking strange. I don't know. I mean, Stephen King might have just done a lot of drugs when he wrote it. But
he did a lot of drugs.
Guess that.
Well, yeah, true. But no, I mean,
a clown or two.
He just had a real big thing for clowns. But yeah, I mean, everybody knows Pennywise, so I don't feel like I have to go through the plot summary of this one because it's such a fucking huge and well-loved novel. But I think it is. I mean, I think it's very well-loved for a reason, because it is genuinely pretty fucking creepy, and a very solid story all throughout, except for the weird orgy scene among like the 13-year-olds towards the end. That part was strange.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Real glad they cut that out of the movie. It's supposed to be symbolic of them like losing their innocence after they've now fought this thing. So like if it comes back, then then they can fight it again. It's a whole fucking thing, but it's real dumb. And he could have done that in infinitely better ways. But hey, I'm not the one getting paid fucking millions of dollars to write books. So, but yeah, that's like my only gripe about it, but the rest of the book is so good that honestly I can pretty much overlook it. Especially because it doesn't come really until like the end of the book, because the book actually bounces between the adult and kid timelines pretty frequently. Like I'm not sure if it's every chapter, but it's at least every couple chapters. So I mean, it is kind of neat like seeing the different timelines kind of progress together. Rather than just being like, okay, here's when they're kids, and now here's when they're adults. So I think the format makes it a little more interesting. But, yeah, no, it's, I mean, a very good book. Again, very creepy. And again, I think it is very well loved for good reason. I mean, Pennywise is a solid character. It's very interesting, too, how he chose to expand upon it, because I mean when everybody thinks about it, they're like, oh yeah, it's the scary clown, but like no, it's actually like the sum of all fears in the universe, and in the book it actually appears as a giant fucking spider, because I mean that's one of the most common fears.
That's like its real form, isn't it?
That's
Giant
the
space
form.
spider?
Well, that's the form that it takes. That's most most general for humans. Because it's, I mean, it is a shapeshifter at heart, but no, I think the big thing is nobody knows its real form. But the form that it takes, like, that again is most generally compatible for human brains, is a big fucking spider, because how many fucking people are scared of spiders out there? So I think that's kind of a neat nod to, like, hey, it's the sum of all fears, and here's one of the most common fears ever. It's a big fucking spider. But I don't know. It's, again, very good book, very well done. The characters are good. Richie's the best character in the book. Anybody who says otherwise is dumb. Yeah, I like it. It is a good book.
Ha.
That's all I have to say.
My question is, you said this was your first solo book. Have you never read the sequel?
There wasn't a sequel.
Yeah, there is.
This is going to be some stupid joke, and it's going to be really unfunny, so go ahead.
Is there not a... I swear to God, there was a sequel to
There's
it.
definitely not a sequel.
Tip.
Isn't that when they kill him?
No, that's all in the same book. Like I said, it bounces back and forth between the adult and kid timelines.
I wasn't aware.
Yeah,
My
it's.
bad.
I mean, it's a solid
Sorry.
it's a solid 900 some pages. No, I thought you were setting up for some dumb joke about like another word related to the word it. Like, oh, have you not read the sequel? That or something like that. Like,
Oh no! As soon as you said that, I thought of that joke. Oh,
yeah, that's where I thought you were going with it, but I'm glad that it wasn't. But yeah, no, it's like almost.
I like
1,000
number
pages.
3. This.
Those. But
These.
yeah, no, it's
Companion novel to those.
Yeah, it's like a solid 1,000 pages. So no, it wraps itself up very succinctly in one novel.
I had no idea it was that long. I thought it was like one of those books you could throw in your purse if you were going on the plane. So not your purse, your mom's purse on the plane, and be like, "Hey, pull this out. We're leaving."
Yeah, no, it's a thick boy. So yeah, that's my number 5. Zach, it is your turn.
What's my number 5? Gross. I'm doing 2 sci-fi novels in a row, except this one has a twist.
Ooh.
Fuck, I forget his name. Hold on. I'll just start talking and see where that takes me. My first one, not my first one. See, I tried to type into a Google search and I forgot how to talk entirely. Never mind. My number 5 is, again, a series, because I like to find series, because if I read something, I want to. But it's called The Void Trilogy by Peter Hamilton. It's another science fiction book, but honestly, wait, no, I do remember. So there's a twist to it. There is the science fiction side where it's this, once again, stereotypical big space empire, and they're like, oh no, there's a black hole singularity in the middle of the universe created by the precursor race, and it keeps expanding, and we don't know how to fix it. But then, once they give you that information, like, the next few chapters jump into this, like, I would say maybe Renaissance era society where, like, everyone is a minor, not telepath, telekinetic, and, like, they all have these, like, third hands that they can reach out with their minds, and the main character there is a special dude who does cool shit with that. But you have these 2 stories coexisting about this far future race trying to figure out how to stop this ever-expanding wormhole that takes any matter that goes into it, the wormhole expands, because, you know, that's what they do, I suppose. And there's this, like, cult that wants to just fly billions of members right into the fucking wormhole, and the rest of the world's like, hey, you'll destroy fucking everyone, could you not? But meanwhile, you have this story of this, like, Renaissance era telekinetic kid, and it's not a huge spoiler, it's like halfway through. Inside of the wormhole is where that second story is taking place. There is a whole society within the, like, main issue of this first story. So then they get to the point where they're like, wait, there's something inside of this, we can go inside of this, and then they have to go inside and figure out how to resolve all of that without destroying the wormhole and killing the entire society of people inside, and how to get rid of the wormhole to keep themselves alive. It's super interesting because it takes two not directly opposing genres of literature, but ones that don't often mix. Like, you can have fantasy or science fiction or even science fantasy like Star Wars, where it's in the future, but it's mostly magic anyway. But it has two very distinct stories in the same 3 books that do connect eventually in a very interesting way. And I found it in a fucking, like, jank-ass bookstore in the Caribbean and was immediately obsessed with it.
It does sound pretty neat, honestly.
It's rad. And honestly, I can't do it justice. There is a alien race of, like, I want to say 6-legged telepathic elephant people that are, like, the most intelligent precursor race, and they're just like, yes, I'm an elephant. Which,
damn.
Talk about
I
Brandon.
just find funny. Wow. Yeah, that's you offending Brandon. I said nothing. Brandon, fight him right now.
Yeah, well.
Hey, Brandon, I just called you telepathic elephant. That sounds like the new Radiohead album.
Yeah, you really did.
No, that's the latest IPA from local distillery.
True.
True. Damn. Well, yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty fucking interesting. It's pretty large.
It's large.
I mean, like, it's, I don't know, it's hard to really respond to something that fucking broad and expansive. It's kind of crazy. But
yeah, I basically cheated and just said 2 different books are my 5th, so.
Well, all right.
Hey,
I'm one ahead of you boys.
Hey.
You guys are going to like my number 5.
Well, what is it?
Thomas the Train.
Even better. Twilight New Moon.
Oh, boy.
No! No! No!
Nah, it is. I'm sorry. I can't help myself.
Okay, Brandon, your turn. Number 4.
Oh, well, I mean, Weaver, why do you like Twilight so much?
I think it was mainly due to just the fact that I read it recently, like in the past couple years. I read Twilight for the first time a few years ago. I don't know. It's my favorite of the Twilight series, but
Of course.
I know it's fucking cheesy and Twilight, and obviously the movies are the movies. Like we were all there in
The word
2008.
you're looking for is bad.
Look, we all experienced the internet from 2008 to 2011, so I don't need to rehash that. But
What does that have to do with Twilight? I'm
Still
sorry.
a better love story than
That's
Twilight.
that's when the movies were coming out, and the whole internet hate bandwagon, because the movies obviously don't do the books justice, and obviously the books aren't.
do the books justice.
I like the books. This is a personal opinion. I'm not saying they're well-written books. I'm not saying they're good books. And I will be honest.
Personal opinion is objectively wrong.
I mean,
Jesus.
I think Stephanie Meyer's motivation for writing the books was that she listened to like a lot of Muse, which is fucking the shitty elements of Coldplay combined with the shitty elements of Radiohead, which there are none because Radiohead's perfect. But anyway, so that being her primary motivation and or fuel for writing the books, because I remember in the post credits of all the books, it was like, and thank you to Muse for helping me get through this tough writing process. I'm just like, fuck you. But I don't know. I just like it. We all know the plot, but it's my favorite one of the series. The second one.
My favorite part is when the adult werewolf falls in love with the baby.
With a literal infant.
That was in the 4th book.
Oh, my bad. Never mind.
That's,
my favorite part is where the vampire sexes the girl so good they break the bed.
I think
That was in the 4th book as well. There's no.
Well, I just like the 4th book. My bad.
Hey, there's no premarital sex in Twilight.
As
You
it should be.
hedonist. That's the way it
These
should be.
vampires of
It is a
people
good-
of God.
Vampires are good Christians. Okay, I'll have you know.
Jesus. All right. Moving on.
Twilight New Moon.
Wait, no.
Don't read it. Unless. I mean, read it. Okay, look, it's up on my. It's this high on my list because It's just something
You
I read.
jerked off to it a lot.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. I coded my Kindle. Anyway.
Brandon, you're up. Brandon, you're up. Brandon, you're up.
All right. Anyhow, moving on. Number 4.
Number 4, Super Monkey Ball.
All right, I'll keep this brief just because I know Zach has it coming soon. Number 4, Name of the Wind. It was either this one or Wise
Never
Man's
heard of
Fear. Yeah, so I'm going to keep it brief. It was either this one or Wise Man's Fear, but I think I like Name of the Wind a lot better. I will let Zach do the plot synopsis and go on his big rant about it. I like it because I think it's a fucking fantastic world-building experience. You know, a lot of the shit in the world is really cool, especially their approach to magic. Characters are great. Main character's fucking awesome. The writing is paced very well. It's equal parts like good world building, but equal parts like moving the story along. It doesn't fall into the Charles Dickens fucking pit of describing every little fucking thing like it matters. Which, I mean, like, I get sometimes you want to do when you're trying to world build, and I know Tolkien did it a lot, but sometimes it's a little too much, and I get really bored really easily with that shit. Man. Yeah, I get really...
Which author was it that, like, described a door for 3 pages?
Oh, Christ, I don't know.
Probably Tolkien.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was. But yeah, so I think it's paced very well. Again, I'll let Zach do most of the honors for this one, since I'm sure he's got a lot more to say about it than me. But just know that whatever he says, whenever he explains it, I agree, and I also like it a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Whatever
Zach.
I say.
Yeah, so again, this is basically like, my number 4 is basically like, yeah, what Zach's going to say in about like, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes here, I agree.
Okay,
right, so Zach, you're number 4.
Let me just say, I'll move Name of the Wind to my number 4 and just say immediately, Brandon likes boys. He agrees.
Oh, shit. Well, no, I mean, okay.
Gay, dude.
Wow, I mean, honestly, I expected this to be your number 1, given how much you fucking don't shut up.
No, it fucking is my number 1.
Okay, then wait. Then wait.
I wanted to make a joke about you being gay.
Well, shut up. Wait to explain your big book, all right? Give me your actual number 4.
Sorry, I just had a strange pain in my ribs.
Good. That's the voodoo doll.
Because you're being rude to me.
That's the voodoo doll. It's working.
Speaking of voodoo, my number 4 is American Gods, which
I actually haven't read that yet.
read last year. Oh my god, fucking read it. Okay, I was about to make a comment about how stupid I was reading it, but then I realized that's a huge spoiler. Anyway, American Gods is about this... I don't even know what he went to prison for. I think it was a petty crime or murder, one of them. This dude gets out of prison after a while, and he's like, yay, I'm so happy. I can't wait to see my wife, who I love, again. His wife's dead, and he has nothing else to live for, and he's like, well, life sucks. I probably am just going to go home and kill myself after prison like Brooks in Shawshank Redemption. Actual quote from the book, not true.
Oh.
But on the plane ride home, he meets this strange gentleman who offers him a job of being his bodyguard and protection. And he's like, no, fuck you. I don't want to do that. So later he goes to a bar, and strange gentleman shows up again. Strange gentleman is like, fuck you. I'm Odin. Be my bodyguard. And he's like, sure. And then he gets into a fist fight with a leprechaun. And shit gets buck wild from there, with guest appearances from the Egyptians gods, and he has sets with a cat. And Brandon, are you ready for this one?
Oh, what is it?
Chernabog is in that book.
Ooh.
Your favorite Eastern European god of the night.
Favorite Slav.
Your favorite Slav.
Does he do a big squat?
Favorite brand new album.
Yeah. But no, like the main premise of the book is Odin has got this human boy's help to fight the new gods. The main idea behind the gods in America is that all of the immigrants brought their religions with them, and their practicing of the faith in America created North American Odin and North American Set, I think, is one of them. And they are all here, and they're the old gods of the old world and whatnot, but society has advanced, so they're new gods popping up. So there's like the god of media and the god of fucking Twitter, and they're trying to like kill Odin and all the old guys so they can be the only gods and be the most
Is it the
powerful.
god of Fortnite?
Yada yada. He's never brought up, but if you
he's the most powerful of the gods.
Yeah, if you look between the lines at like literally the climax, he's in the background doing a Fortnite emote.
He's doing Fortnite dances
just
in the
dabbing.
background.
He's drinking the
Yeah.
shield potion.
Yeah.
So
But,
it's like
yeah,
so
American gods.
it's like a big boy Percy Jackson.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Okay, yeah. You've just completely marginalized anything that there was to say about it.
Well, I mean, that's just kind of what it's sounding like. I mean, I'm sure obviously there's much more to it, but just for to sum it up.
If you like
succinctly.
Percy Jackson, if you like Percy Jackson, read American Gods.
Hell yeah! All right, well, Weaver, you're number 4. All right, good.
Weaver?
Did he fucking go pee again?
What a sack of shit.
Oh my god, he has the bladder of a fucking squirrel.
Are we cutting this?
I don't know. All right, Weaver, number 4, now that you're back.
Sorry, I was taking a pee with my wiener.
I figured.
By the way, my dick's really huge. Anyway, my number 3, The Mighty Book of Thieves.
Wait, what did you say?
My dick's really huge.
Okay, yeah, that's what you said.
Oh my god.
We'll cut and we'll do that again.
No, that's staying in. All right, number 4, let's do it.
I thought it was number 3.
No, number 4.
Oh, no,
You did.
we're on number.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're the last one to go for number 4.
Hey, shut up. Anyway, my number 4 is Edge Chronicles. It's not a book about being edgy. No. Okay. Well, this is another series, The Edge Chronicles. Basically, it is this fantasy fictional series about sky pirates and this universe that is just this giant cliffside with there's like forests and there's marshes, and then like at the end of the cliff there's like a big city, and then there's like a giant floating city on a rock that's attached by a chain, and then basically beyond the cliff is just like nothingness and like the abyss and stuff like that. But so it takes place on this giant misty cliff with all these different environments in it, and it's about a story. Well, there's a couple different characters in the different sub-series within the main series, but the main story follows this guy named Twig, this boy that was raised by these forest creatures in the deep woods, and it follows his journey as he travels out of that, and he goes into the city to find out like where he came from, who his parents are, and he eventually becomes a sky pirate and is able to travel around and just do all kinds of fun stuff. And I read this. I just picked it on a whim, like at Barnes & Noble one day, and I got really into the series. I read like the first 2 or 3 books. And then whenever I was like in middle school, I found the rest of them in the library. So I finished reading them. And they're just really fun. It's like, they're these fantasy stories. They had illustration in them as well. And the illustrations were always like really cool. Like I liked the artist's art style. I don't remember who did the illustrations. I really wish I knew the name, because the illustrations were just really good and really detailed, and it really complemented the story. They're kids' books, obviously. They're like, moderate reading level, for like 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, stuff like that. But it's basically, if you like sky pirates, if you like high fantasy, stuff like that. And there's like this evil like demon man called the Gloam Glozer, and he's kind of like the main antagonist in this series, and he makes many appearances throughout the story, and he's kind of like the villain in the book, and there's a couple face-offs with him in that, and he's just like this all-powerful entity that can manifest himself in different ways. And there's just all kinds of different characters. There's all these different tribes and these like different species and races of people, and it's just really cool. And the main storyline focuses on Twig and his adventures, but then there's like a pre-series. Well, it's all one series, but like first 3 books are like Twig. Next 3 books are about like his dad and his adventures, and then there's like another 3 books about this other kid who it's like in the future after Twig. So it's kind of like there's 3 different storylines in 3 different time periods, and it's interesting because you can see how the Edge changes, like how it was in the past, and then like certain events happen that affect it in like Twig's timeline, and then there's certain events that happen that affect I believe it's Rook is his name, his timeline. And I believe that the series goes like back and forth within each book within it, so it's not like you're getting one storyline, you're getting like one storyline, one book from this storyline, one book from the past storyline, so on and so forth. So it's interesting to just see how the dynamic changes, and you're able to just go back and forth throughout it as you go through the series, like not chronologically, but like how they came out. So if you're looking for a good fantasy read, it's even worth the read now, honestly, especially if you're into like art, because like I said, I love the illustration. It's just really. But Edge Chronicles, they're supposed to make a movie on it, like an animated movie, but that was like 10 years ago, so I don't think that's happening.
No,
Oh, I have them right there. No, I can't see it from here. Edge Chronicles, check it out.
Hell yeah.
Straight up. I'll quickly just say I like a good book that has strong consistency in storytelling like that, where one thing from the prequel affects the main thing, so that's rad.
Amen, brother. All right. So
yeah.
Does that bring us to number 3?
Number 3.
All right.
I have to pee.
My number 3 is Dune. Series I only really got into recently, but I will not put the whole series for my number 3. I will just put the first one, because in the second and third books, I'm pretty sure that fucking Frank Herbert started taking like DMT or doing like serious amounts of acid, because holy shit, it gets weird. Like it still has a lot of interesting moments, and a lot of like cool stuff happens. Like I'm almost done with the third one right now, but holy fuck, does it really, it gets like really into contemplating like the supreme nature of the universe, and dude, it's just it's too much for me, to be honest.
Side note, have you seen Frank Herbert's beard? Because it's great.
Oh, it's fantastic. But the first one, I think, it's arguably one of the biggest cornerstones of science fiction, at least modern science fiction and modern, fantasy. I know Zach mentioned, space operas and stuff earlier, and I think really Dune was one of the first big, blends of fantasy and sci-fi out there.
Oh yeah.
For those that aren't in the know, Dune is essentially the story of Paul Atreides. He is I don't even want to call him a prince, but he's the son of a duke, who his family rules over this planet, and they essentially get shafted into going to live on this and rule over this desert planet called Arrakis, and they find that, on Arrakis there is it's hard to say what really the spice is, because it comes in so many different forms.
Dude.
All you can say is that it must flow.
Yeah, I mean it's a very multi-purpose resource. And it's one of the most powerful resources in the whole galaxy. So they essentially are sent to rule over Dune, Arrakis, and they control the spice. Well, this leads to this big plot being made against Paul's family, which ends in his father being assassinated and him and his mom on the run in the desert. Well, while Paul and his mom are surviving in the desert, they fall in with desert people, and then a couple things happen, and Paul becomes a god. So
one thing leads to another.
There are worms. Yeah. There's a worm in there somewhere.
Yeah, he learns how to ride a big sandworm, and then he becomes God. But no, it's very.
That's done, kids.
I think it's really interesting just in how it balances like the more sci-fi components of like the different technology and stuff like that, and all the different applications of spice, and even the fucking mystic parts with the spice trances and Paul seeing the future and everything. How it balances that with like the actual action and adventure and the politics of it. Reading this book, I noticed, and knowing that George R.R. Martin was a big fan of sci-fi, I noticed a lot of similarities in how the political stuff plays out in Dune and its subsequent books, and how it ends up playing out in the Song of Ice and Fire series. So it makes me wonder, hey, maybe did, good old George take some notes from Frank Herbert? But hey, the world may never know. But yeah, I mean, if you like sci-fi, you probably know of Dune, and if you haven't read it and you like sci-fi, what the fuck are you doing with yourself? Again, the second and third book get real weird, but there's still some really cool moments in it, like when Paul's son, Leto, basically becomes a fucking metahuman by putting on a bunch of fish membranes. And he can, like, jump really high and, like, destroy settlements with his bare fucking hands. And he doesn't need to, like, drink water.
See, this is why I only read the first book.
Like I said, gets real weird. I'm pretty sure. So if you've seen the cover of the fourth book, God Emperor of Dune, there's, like, the weird half worm, half man thing. Pretty sure that's Leto.
Yeah, that's Leto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's where this is going from where I'm at right now. So... I mean, it's interesting, but I think the first one is a monumental book in science fiction, or in the science fiction canon, I should say, modern science fiction. That is, absolutely worth the read. And all the
one thing I will say.
Go ahead.
Oh. All the characters are good. I'm sorry. One thing I will say is one of the big questions, because you guys know I hang out on our world building on Reddit, and one of the biggest questions that people have when they're making science fantasy or science fiction worlds is, hey, I want my people to fight with swords because swords are rad. What do I do? And I think Dune has my favorite fucking way of resolving, hey, how do we get melee combat into the far, far future?
Oh, with the shields and the Chris knife and everything?
Yeah, anyone of high rank has this like personal shield, and it protects against anything going too fast by not like blocking it or pushing it away. If anything too fast goes through the shield, a fucking nuclear explosion goes off and kills everybody. That's how they deter guns. So people fight with swords.
That is true. That's very true. Isn't that how Paul loses his eyes in the second book? It's a fucking nuke that just blows up in his face.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've read the first
bad guy dies, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm blind."
Yeah, it's the fucking the dwarf, because there's a big conspiracy against Paul, and the dwarf is like fucking with him, and then he makes like a nuke blow up in Paul's face, and Paul's like, "Shit, I'm blind now."
But I can see everything.
Yeah, but he can still see because he can see the future still. It's again gets real weird. It's an interesting blend of sci-fi and fantasy. Just read it. Read at least the first one, and then
first one's good.
Yeah, first one's great. If you're ready to get weird after that, then read the others. Because I will say they're still worth reading, but that's only if you like really liked the first one, which I did, obviously. But yeah, so that's my number 3. Dune. Read it. Check it out.
Good.
All right.
My turn?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, my number 3 is, once again, a series.
God damn it.
Honestly, though, I don't know if it's fair to call them a series. They're in the same collection of books. The Interview with a Vampire series by Anne Rice. I affectionately call this series... Speaking of Tom Cruise, yeah. I affectionately call this series my favorite homoerotic vampire novels because, boy, are they pretty gay.
Hey, there you go.
Well, no, but seriously, to the point where...
I already did gay vampire book, Zach.
Oh, you did. You did straight vampire book. These are very gay. To the point where when I was working at Bravo, I was reading something on my phone about Anne Rice, and my one manager, who was gay, was like, "Hey, no phones out." And I was like, "But I was reading about my favorite homoerotic vampire novel." And he was like, "Oh, Anne Rice?" And I fucking died. So yeah, that's a fucking gold star for this book. Apparently, it's gay. But no, it's about a vampire, or like 5 or 6, depending on how many of the books you read. But they start out with just, Tom Cruise fucking around and being a vampire, falling in love with a 8-year-old girl who's actually like 50. So I guess Anne Rice was into lollies, but that's besides the point. He dies within the same book. But it then follows more the person who turned the main character, the first one, and then goes into this whole fucking weird ass trip about like the first 2 original vampires come back to life, and then they want to kill fucking everyone and make a pure vampire controlled race or something. It's a little blurry in my head. And then gets into the intricacies of vampire society, and then says, "Fuck it, no, I want to write about this vampire from the fucking Roman Empire and how he became a hermit on an island." And then it's like, "No, I want to write about this one who lived in Italy, and you know what? They're going to make a movie, and you know who's going to play him? Antonio Banderas." Nice. There's so much to fucking cover that it's just far, far, far too much. So I will say my favorite one is Interview with a Vampire. It introduces you to it all. The lore behind like what vampirism is and all that is actually fairly interesting and unique, and the story itself is very good and leads you into the bigger world that you have to discover. So Interview with the Vampire, Anne Rice, good. If you like vampires loving each other in slightly platonic, slightly not platonic ways, it's all for you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Vampires are fucking cool.
What is this, 2008?
It's better than Twilight Vampires. Bleed.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You're right. I gave you my reasons for why I like Newman. But anyway.
Fair. Anyway.
Literally that it turned you on.
No, it doesn't. But my number 3 is The Mighty Book of Boosh, which is the book version of the surreal comedy show that is The Mighty Boosh. And I learned about this book whenever I was really getting into The Mighty Boosh a while ago. And it's basically just like a compilation thing of just like pictures and clips from the shooting of the show and like the stage show that they did and the radio show. So it's not really like a novel. It's just like a magazine almost. But if you like The Mighty Boosh, like Old Greg and stuff like that, and it's a book in the sense that it's literally just a book, and that's the only reason that it's a book. It's not. But there are a lot of like stories in it, because what it does and what I really like about it is a lot of the skits and the bits from the show are kind of like emphasized upon in bits of the story. So, for example, there's like one scene in the show, of like Old Greg's watercolors, that he goes over his watercolors of like Bailey's Irish Cream and a portrait of himself and stuff like that. So they have a section in the book that's like more of Old Greg's watercolors that he has. It's just like I don't know, I really can't explain it without like talking about specifics from the show, and it's just really like weird niche jokes and stuff like that. That'll make me sound like a weirdo. But if you like The Mighty Boosh, if you like Old Greg, first off, if you've seen Old Greg and you haven't seen The Mighty Boosh, I encourage you to watch The Mighty Boosh. And if you have seen The Mighty Boosh and you haven't read The Mighty Book of Boosh, if you're a fan of The Mighty Boosh, I think you'll enjoy it. There's really nothing that I can say about it that gives it merit as a book, but it's just a cool thing for Mighty Boosh fans. It's like fan service, pretty much. So that's my number 3. I love The Mighty Boosh so much, so that's why it's my number 3. It's literally a book form of the show. Like because like the humor in the show is obviously it's very visually crazy with all the colors and surrealism and stuff, but a lot of the humor in the show is just the dialogue and the banter between the characters and just like the jokes and the references. So that translates it translates really well into book form because they just have a lot of that banter and such. Like there's a lot of meta humor, like like Vince and Howard, the main characters, knowing that they're in a book and knowing that they're like writing a book and just talking about that stuff. It translates really well from show to book just because of their style of humor. So if you like that kind of humor, if you like dialogue-based humor and just banter between and like chemistry between characters, you'll like the book, and vice versa the show. So my number 3.
All right. Sounds like a pretty decent book. It sounds like it kind of expands too on like the sketches and stuff like that. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, pretty cool.
But all right, so I guess it's time for number 2.
Number 2.
So my number 2 is another Stephen King book. It is.
I can't do same author. Fuck you.
I never said I couldn't do same author. Fuck you.
Well, that's the new roof. Oh shit! You can't fuck you. I just said fuck you.
Well, no, you.
Both you.
Another Stephen King book. It is The Stand. Post-apocalyptic horror fantasy.
Jojo.
Fucking, I don't know, man. This book is so fucking good. Like, I genuinely think, at least in my mind, this is Stephen King's best book that he's written. Essentially, what happens is a weaponized strain of influenza.
Autism.
Well, I mean, yeah. You could rewrite it now, these days. But no, weaponized, like a strain of the flu that was modified for biological warfare ends up being released from a U.S. Army base and essentially just destroys society. It becomes called the super flu and like Captain Trips. But yeah, it like just fucking annihilates society in the U.S. and it's the story is essentially told about the survivors and how they come together and fucking the two different societies that come up around these two big figures. One of them is Mother Abigail. It's she's an 108-year-old old black woman that lives in Boulder, Colorado. And she becomes the one leader because like people start seeing her in their dreams. So she draws them, like people see her as an embodiment of good. So people start flocking towards her, and they struggle to try and reestablish a democratic society and stuff like that. And then meanwhile, like while all this is going on, another group of survivors is drawn over to Las Vegas by the character Randall Flagg, who is he has a bunch of different names, but he's very clearly like a supernatural, like he's got supernatural powers, and he's just pure fucking evil. He's very tied to the Dark Tower series, which I haven't read a ton of, but I mean I know of like what goes on in it. But yeah, he's really tied to that whole thing, so he's got all kinds of fucking crazy powers. So he starts essentially going around and recruiting like technical professionals and stuff like that, people who like know how to rebuild shit, mechanics and like engineers and shit. So he has them all come to Las Vegas, and he establishes essentially a form of despotism where they all just worship him, and he's just a brutal tyrant. Tortures people and fucking executes dissenters. So then it's about essentially the conflict between them, and fuck, I forgot where I was going with this. Sorry. But eventually, Flag starts going out and trying to get weapons and stuff like that, and he's trying to essentially make sure he's the only leader that's left in the wasteland. So then the people at the free zone with Mother Abigail hear about this, so they send over spies, and a whole bunch of shit happens. But the thing I think is the most interesting about The Stand is how it's told. Each chapter kind of bounces between different primary characters and their different experiences. Like I think probably the most interesting part of the book is the like initial chapters that introduce the characters, like finding where the people that become main characters are at in the very beginning once the super flu hits. It's really cool to see like all the different stories and how all these different people come together and like what they're doing to survive and shit like that. And it gets pretty fucked up. Like it's really hard to get into it like more in detail without spoiling a lot of it. But yeah, if you're into like post-apocalyptic stuff and just into Stephen King in general and how he writes his characters and shit like that, it's pretty fucking good. I read the complete and uncut edition, so it was like a solid 1,100 or so pages, but I finished it in maybe like 3 weeks to a month. Like once it hooked me, it really fucking hooked me. So that's why I like that book.
Honestly, that sounds really fucking interesting, and I haven't read a good post-apocalyptic book in a while, and you have officially listed book number 2 that I feel like I need to get my hands on immediately.
I have a copy of it, I think, sitting next to me somewhere, so I can bring that one.
Well, you're several states over.
Yeah.
What, Magic Treehouse wasn't good enough for you, Zach?
Hey, I'm only away for only 3 more weeks, so yep, I actually have it.
Silly Brandon. This is a Stephen King book. I found it on the internet in PDF form in 0.5 seconds.
Good point. But hey, you gotta have the fucking physical copy. It's not the same. I actually do kind of want to go back and read it again, just because of how long it's been. Like, I think I read this maybe freshman year of high school, so it's been quite some time. So yeah,
Forever ago.
Yeah, I definitely want to read it again. It's so fucking good. But yeah, so that is why I like that book. Zach, your turn for number 2.
Oh shit, number 2. It's a series again. Fuck me.
Oh boy.
I have mentioned him once, and I'll not do it again on this list, but he's one of my favorite authors. Jim Butcher, his main series that to this very day is still ongoing, the Dresden Files. When the books first came out, their main tagline by some reviewers was, "Move over, Potter. There's a new Wizard Harry in fiction." It's about Chicago, Denison, Harry Dresden, Harry Copperfield Black. I don't know. He's named after 4 different stage magicians because his dad was a nerd. But he's a real wizard, and he's a detective. The books focus around him solving all manners of mysteries and crimes in Chicago's committed by the shady underground types of the magical world, ranging from, well, interesting fact about the series, every 4 books there's a rotation, so it'll either be about other wizards, vampires, eldritch beings from outside the universe, or the what are they fallen angels come after him, like the human vessels of the angels that fell with Lucifer hate him for a reason that I don't remember because it's been a good while since I read the books, but he's a badass wizard that is fairly good at throwing fireballs. Oh, no, I was wrong. One of the other possible bad guys is fairies, because fairies are assholes and are always up to no good in fiction. But he's a smart-talking asshole who's very good at throwing fireballs, and when that doesn't work, he is the only fucking fictional character smart enough to carry around a goddamn Colt 46 or whatever size bullet that gun carries, and he shoots the shit out of multiple people. It has such great scenes as a chubby, what are they called, coroner riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton shouting about polka, interactions with Mab and Titania, the fairy queens from which Shakespeare play? Brandon, do you know where Shakespeare? Midsummer's?
Maybe I couldn't tell you. It sounds very familiar, but I honestly don't remember.
There's the fairy queens, and there's, like I said, fallen angels, and there's the wizard council, and the evil wizards, and the vampires, which may or may not be genocided at some point and come back in a weird, freaky fucking way. It's all just... There's like 12 books. It's hard to fucking cover. If you want me to name my favorite, I don't even remember the name because I just binged them and they all blend together at the time. But I will say that my favorite involves when he momentarily dies and cannot interact with any of his friends and family for like the entire fucking book. And the only character that notices him throughout the entire book that is not also dead is his cat that has been around since the first book. And I was like binge reading the series when that came out. It was like 5 a.m, and for some reason, when he was in his friend's house trying to reach out to them and get them all to pay attention, and the only one that would show him any affection was his cat, I literally cried at 5 a.m. because I was like, oh my god, the cat loves him. But no, I can't fucking explain how good the series is. Okay, no, I can't explain how good it is. But instead of doing that, I'll explain how bad the first 3 books are. Don't read them. The author himself will say they were his first 3 books. They're not very good. It's okay to skip right to the 4th book.
Oh, I mean, do you miss, like, story stuff?
Yes, but he really suggests just not reading his first 3 books.
All right, I mean...
Like, no, even Patrick Rothfuss is a big fan of the series, and he also says it's okay not to read the first 3 books.
Very
so,
interesting.
Yeah. I think at the beginning, they were like sort of let's try and get people interested. So there's not a whole lot of the world building aspect to it that starts picking up a few books later. But I don't know. It's a fun series. It kind of puts some tropes on its head about fantasy, like for the fact he carries around a gun. And there's a term in literature for characters like, I don't know, series I hate, Hermione Granger, who exists solely to dispense knowledge that people have no reason to know. It's called The Talking Head. And when he was originally writing the series in college, he went up to his professor and was like, hey, I have this idea. And the professor was like, I don't know if I like this one character. He seems like he's just there to be a talking head. So he made this character a literal talking head. It is a human skull inhabited by a wind spirit of knowledge.
Nice.
It is also a massive pervert. So he's like, hey, can you tell me how to make this potion? And the skull's like, I don't know, you got a nudie mag? So it's also a little bit of a goofy series.
Yeah, right. Well, hey, that doesn't sound half bad.
I really am not aptly describing it. Honestly, I really need to read through it again, but all the books are at my house, and I don't want to make that 30-minute drive. But yeah, wait, there's one other cool part about it that I wanted to say. Fuck, what was it? I don't know.
That's okay.
Shit. Oh, yeah, just a fun fact. There are going to be 24 books. Don't ask me how many there are right now. Close to that. I think it's in the teens. But he literally had every single book in the series planned out before he graduated college.
Wow.
Taking time to write them. So I think that's pretty fucking rad.
Hell yeah, dude.
And that's my number 2.
Cool. I mean, yeah, it does sound pretty fucking neat, I gotta say. All right.
Well, my number two, Dune.
Yeah.
You already took my thunder, Brandon. But fun fact, the 1984 movie directed by David Lynch, which is a director I enjoy a lot, for Eraserhead. That's another one of his great movies. It's a weird movie as well. David Lynch is fucking weird. He's got weird, surreal movies. But yeah, I like Dune
for how weird
the same reason
Dune is.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's kind of like he went into his element there because it's like it's a weird book and it's a movie by a weird director. But yeah, I kind of like it the same reasons that Brandon does. I read the first 4 books, and they do get really weird. They kind of take the same path that like Ender's Game did, but instead of getting like pretentious and just weird, it got like a good weird.
Yeah, it just got fucking strange. Like,
yeah, it was like an LSD trip. So
yeah,
recommend Dune series, but definitely, like Brandon said, read the first book. So that's all I have to say about that.
All right, Forrest. Well, then I guess it is time for number 1. Does anybody have any honorable mentions before we get into number 1?
The
You know what? I
Barack
literally
Obama
just thought
biography.
about one.
I also
Really?
thought about one too. What'd you say?
Weaver?
Yeah, what'd you say, Weaver?
The Barack Obama biography.
Is there one?
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah. I
Is
think
there?
That's a joke.
Shut up.
Gucci Mane biography, actually.
Is that your honorable mention?
No, but well, one of them.
Okay. What is your
My actual honorable
one?
mention is the Redwall series. Just because.
Oh shit!
Oh
yeah.
fuck! I completely forgot about Redwall.
Just because, like, something about fucking, I don't know, small animals keep murdering each other with swords and living in castles is fucking neat.
No, literally, that's mine. Oh my god, Redwall's so good.
It's like fucking.
Redwall is so good
It's basically just, Song of Ice and Fire, but with animals. So.
and good.
Do with that info what you will. Zach, what's your honorable mention then?
Brian Jocks is dead. Rest in peace.
Shit, he is.
My honorable mention has to be Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Solid.
Just because, well, I have to say the entire series. What is wrong with me? Have I read a single like standalone book?
Apparently not.
No.
But
Good
no,
literature.
I just it was a really good series, but besides just the story itself, I have to say that Douglas Adams is a fairly large influence in like my writing. One of the two strongest things that stand out to me that are just quotes from that series that I love is there's one point where I think it's at the beginning when ships are hovering over Earth about to smash it so they can make a highway through space, is the ships hunt in the sky in much the same way that bricks don't. Which is just like, that's not an analogy. That doesn't fucking say anything. But at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah. And then there's this whole part, I think it's in the third book, where the main character gets stranded or something and he has to learn how to fly. And the quote is, "There is an art to flying, or rather a knack. The knack lies in learning how to throw yourself at the ground and miss." Which is just like, it's irreverent humor, I guess, where it's just like, I don't know why this is funny or why you're fucking using this to get your point across, but fuck it, okay. And I just love that about that series.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. But,
what about the ships and the bricks just gets me every time.
Oh yeah, I think actually I will say the movie that they made I really enjoyed.
I've never actually seen the movie. I've heard it was bad though.
Really? I mean, maybe because I saw the movie first.
Maybe.
But I don't know. I liked it. I just think I liked the part with the whale falling from the sky.
Oh my god. The fucking whale,
Yeah.
which is then actually a potted plant, and then there's this fly that throughout the books they've just repeatedly kill, and there's a small chapter where it's trying to get revenge and dies again.
Yeah. So but yeah, no, that's a very solid honorable mention. But I guess with that,
Number
then,
one.
Yeah, we'll get into number one. Well, my number one, I mean, I've mentioned the series a few times already, and I've mentioned the author once already, but because I am a fucking stinky surface level basic bitch, I gotta go with the Song and Ice and Fire series, but as with the Dune series, very specifically the third one. That is my one thing. Like, the whole series is really good, but the third one, fuck. I mean, like, so for those that don't, for some reason, know, the Song and Ice and Fire series is the book series that the show Game of Thrones is based off of and has bastardized. But, I mean, we can talk about the reasons why the show is fucking bad later. The books, however, are really good. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't think I've ever fucking read a series where, like, there are so many characters that I genuinely enjoy and have genuinely, like, been rooting for alongside characters that just genuinely fucking repulse me. And they're all, like, and they're all main characters, too. Like, these are all characters that, like, are fucking central to the narrative. Like, it's just, I don't know. The George R.R. Martin, I think, is very good at writing very different kinds of people. But the third one, I think, is where the shit really hits the fan. I mean, that's where all the big shit in the series so far happens, like the Red Wedding, the fucking Tyrion's big escape from King's Landing, like the big stuff that people freaked the fuck out about when it happened in the show. That was all book 3, like Jaime getting his hand cut off and then completely doing a whole 180 as a character, which I think was fucking fantastic. Jaime turned from a big fucking piece of shit into probably my favorite character, or second favorite character in the entire book series, just because of how, like,
that's the dude that fucks his sister.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
But he stops after he gets his hand cut off, and they didn't fucking do that in the show. I'm sorry.
We can't finger it with one hand.
Yeah, but it just like he fundamentally changes as a person, and it's a gradual change too. It's a realistic and gradual change from his character, like for his personality to change, because he loses everything essentially. He loses his reputation as a great swordsman. He loses, so much, and it makes a fundamental change in his character that he actually tries to be a good person. He again stops conspiring and fucking his sister, who is just the worst. I mean, she is just an awful person, but her chapters are kind of entertaining, so I'll give her credit for that. But yeah, like he genuinely turns around as a character, and it's just, I don't know, it's so well done. It blows my mind that like they managed to fuck it up that badly in the show. Sorry, I can't talk about this series without shitting all over the show, just because it's just destroyed so many good moments from the books. But yeah, the third one I read in 2 weeks. It's like 1,100 pages long. Like the first 2 books are very good on their own because they set the stage for all of the stuff that happens in the third book. Like, I know I said before, like with the Percy Jackson book, like the 5th book is the big climax of the series. The third third Song of Ice and Fire book is that. But then it keeps going. Like, then you see the ramifications of everything that just happened. You see how the world changes, how, the characters change, how people react. And it's just, I mean, it's so in my mind. Well, I love it. I really do. I am anxiously awaiting the 6th book, but hey, who the hell knows if that'll ever come out. So, I could gush over this series for months. I could just sit here and fucking talk about it forever, but
do it.
Yeah, if you like fantasy, if you like just a really well done characters, and I think that's the strongest part of the series. Not necessarily the world, because the world is a pretty basic, just medieval kind of world with fantasy elements, like with dragons and the White Walkers and stuff like that. So there are like fantasy elements to it, but it's very like medieval. And a lot of that shows, but it's not so much the world, but it's the characters, it's the people that inhabit it that make it so fantastic. Yeah, so that's my number 1. I love it very much. You should read it. I'm again a basic bitch, but fuck it, it's a good book.
I would throw it out there, even if you're not super into fantasy. Another aspect of Game of Thrones that I honestly find really interesting is apparently, how do you say his name? I always say JRR for him. It's GRR, right?
George R.R. Martin, yeah. GRR.
Yeah, George R.R. Martin, who I think only stylized his name that way to seem like Tolkien.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the happenings, probably early on, more so than towards the end because it became its own thing. A lot of the happenings of Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, rather, the series, are based off of the War of the Roses in England, because he's apparently a big history dude. So if you're into history and, like, I guess you could arguably say it's like a super, super, super alternate Earth setting, then...
Yeah, I guess.
That might be interesting for the history nerd who's like, oh, I want to see how this compares to the fight between Duke Bingington and Sir Bobday.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess. But yeah, no, I will
don't ask me to name actual British people.
I will say it definitely has grown into its own thing. Yeah, it's really fucking good. And I'm genuinely upset that you haven't read it yet, Zach.
I've tried. I
It
read
makes me
the
emotionally
entirety of the first book except the last chapter, and I don't remember any of it.
Oh, go right ahead and fuck yourself. You need to reread it.
Probably. I don't know.
Do it. Anyway, your turn.
Are we ready? Are we ready for this fucking disaster?
Oh yeah, let's get it.
Number one is the... See, I just want to say the whole fucking series, but I'll say Name of the Wind first. Name of the Wind by big fiction fantasy big shot of the turn
Patrick
era.
Stump.
Patrick Stump. Patrick Starr. Author Patrick Starr.
He sings his book.
Yeah, but no, Patrick Rothfuss. Name of the Wind is about a poor little stupid ass performer boy who thinks it's cool to be in a play with his family, and then he's like, no, fuck this, and an old man teaches him some magic, and some horrible shit happens to his family, and then he turns homeless, and then it becomes Harry Potter on steroids if Harry Potter was cool.
Yeah, it becomes Harry Potter, except the writer's not a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
That's my celebrity call-out for the episode, by the way.
Oh, can we just do that every fucking time? Just fuck you.
Anyway.
No, an actual description. The story is based around the legendary exploits of, his name is Quoth, is the pronunciation. There's a random fucking V in there because Patrick Rothfuss hates your tongue. But it's told through this guy called the Chronicler, who goes out of his way to find the retired Quoth after all of the stories that are actually making up the book. And he pesters him despite the fact that he is just this quiet little innkeeper who clearly wants to be left to his fucking self because something horrible happens at the end of this trilogy. Like, he did something to really fuck up, but no one knows yet. And he's really reluctant, but eventually he starts to tell his story from his beginnings as a member of this traveling family trope called the Adema Ra, or Ru. Literally, so many things in this book. Patrick Rothfuss is the only man who knows how to pronounce them. There are multiple YouTube videos of him pronouncing shit from his book. It annoys me. But it goes from that to... He meets this old man that his family takes on to help with like stage props and stuff, because the man is classically trained from the local like magical college in the magic of the setting, which is called sympathy, which is actually an old English occult belief where you can affect objects by taking action on one of them that would repeat on the second, depending on how like the objects are. So one of the main connections they have in the book early on is, if you convince your brain that this penny and this other penny are the same thing, you can lift the one penny and the other one will lift the same height. But the way it works is it also roughly follows physics. So if you're lifting a penny, you're lifting the weight of two pennies because you're lifting the first one and the second one. But since they're not exactly the same, you're lifting like 2.4 pennies. And that transfers to like, oh yeah, you can light someone on fire, but it takes like energy out of you. And there's these things called like sympathy sweats or something, where your body basically shuts down because you're wasting energy.
Oh yes, the meat sweats.
And yeah, the meat sweats of the setting. But it goes through Quoth's story from becoming just a boy who works with his family on their stupid like traveling plays, to he becomes homeless in a city, and a horrible upbringing for him happens there until he makes his way to this college and becomes the second youngest person to ever get admitted, the only person who's ever had their tuition to the college actually paid. Haha, political commentary. But and throughout the entire thing you're hearing like this legendary tale of who the world knows him to be and his perspective on it. But the twist on that is, you have to realize throughout the entire thing that Chronicler is hearing these stories from Quoth in the quote-unquote present time of the story. So a lot of contention among fans is the fact that he's making himself sound fucking rad throughout the entire thing. Like, there are scenes where it's like, Yeah, I was like the coolest dude around, and there are like Twitter posts where it's like, yeah, Quoth was awesome. He knew how to play music really well, and I heard he had like a 10-foot dick, and yeah, just saying, Quoth is. So you have that unreliable narrator stuff where you're saying, okay, was he actually being a piece of shit in this scene? Like, why are so many people pissed off at him? Because he has a knack to get people fucking pissed off at him a lot. And it's just this whole story of how he is on a mission to discover the secrets behind this like pseudo mythological, I'll say, organization of like sort of like fallen angels, and his quest to find them and take revenge on them for this thing. And then there's an overarching threat in the current time period that is completely untouched as of yet. There's only 2 of the 3 books are out, but it's probably one of the most well thought out and world built series that I'm aware of. It's often compared to Brandon Sanderson stuff. I don't know if it's an E or an A in his name.
It is an A. I have one of his books sitting literally right next to me.
Yeah, often compared to his stuff. And if you're into Hamilton and you're one of those losers who likes musicals, Lin-Manuel Miranda has said multiple times that no one writes about music better than Patrick Rothfuss, because one of Quote's main character traits is the fact that he's like a very gifted musician, and his music can bring people to tears, and music is a very intricate part of his personality. So if that's an endorsement that you find interesting, it's a fucking good book. I have a copy signed by Patrick Rothfuss that has my name spelled wrong because people assume I spell my name with an H, but it's okay, and I'm sad about it, but whatever. And yeah, I mean, I could keep talking for another 10 minutes, but this podcast is fucking long.
Yeah, we're getting a pretty long episode, so I'll keep my comments short. Like I said before, I agree. Again, I think the most interesting part to me was the way they approach magic. I thought that was pretty cool and something I really hadn't seen before. But yeah, no,
yeah, I love sympathy.
I completely agree with everything that Zach said.
Oh, and Brandon likes boys.
No.
Brandon is
Okay. Brandon
right,
does not like boys.
All right, Weaver.
My number one.
Close us out. Let's get it.
My number one.
Better be a good one.
Well, it's well known. It is Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring, first book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I like it because it is really the only book in the trilogy that the movies really don't cover entirely, even in their like extended edition. It's just the beginning of the saga, and if you don't know Lord of the Rings, it's basically evil Lord Sauron has a ring created that has his power basically embedded in it, and when it's lost, and it eventually works its way to the Hobbit Frodo, and basically it follows Frodo's quest and him and his companions to destroy the ring, so that way Sauron doesn't get it and use it to take over the world. It's just a classic. It's like the granddaddy of all fantasy, more or less. But I like Fellowship of the Ring, the book, because I do like world building, and I do like the world that Tolkien has created in Middle-earth, and it explores a lot of interesting avenues that aren't really discussed in any other media that has been about Lord of the Rings, be it like video games or, well, actually, Lord of the Rings Online does go into some of the stuff that Fellowship did, like in regards to like the environments in it, but the movies and such don't really cover it. It's just an interesting story following, because the first book really is about the Hobbit's journey to create the Fellowship. It's really before any big battles or wars or anything like that that characterize the latter 2 books. So just following the hobbits as they journey through like the old forest and encounter characters like Tom Bombadil and whatnot, and they go to the Barrow Downs and see all the scary, spooky Barrow Wights and stuff like that. And I really like it because of that stuff and just all the little nooks and crannies that they explore on the way. And Tolkien is a sucker for detail, and it's kind of his like downfall in a sense, because he really loves fucking detail. He explains every little thing about his universe in paragraphs upon paragraphs. But I had the whole trilogy in like paperback as a kid, and I would read it all the time. It took me like a year to read the whole trilogy, but it was just, I loved every second of it. You know, you fall asleep during times, but That's just part of the fun. So Fellowship of the Ring, that's my number one. I love it. I like the movies. I like the video games. I like Lord of the Rings. It's cliche, but I mean, it's a reason. There's a reason it's cliche because it's fucking good.
You know what? It's funny that you actually brought that up because I don't know why, but Tom Bombadil popped into my head today, and I spent a solid hour on the Lord of the Rings wiki just about random shit because I was like, who is that again? What's he do? So hey,
Tom Bombadil's fucking epic. And by the way, the Lord of the Wings is my nickname during Wing Night. So
you definitely said Lord of the Wings.
We've been talking for 3 hours. My tongue is tired.
This is literally a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, no, I'll probably cut it down for length a little bit. But all right, any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I'm glad the Nazis started burning books because books are stupid.
Wow.
Jesus. All right. Well, what a note to end on. Cool. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week.